The year is 2021. Humanity has long since moved to the stars, entering an interstellar era, where ordinary humans coexist with beastmen and other alien races. With the human population dwindling, federal law mandates that all pure-blooded human women must marry before their 20th birthday. Otherwise, a spouse will be assigned to them. Today was supposed to be the landmark union between the Huo Corporation and the Su Corporation of the 3rd District. But as the wedding ceremony drew near, the groom was still nowhere to be found. Suwon's mother was pacing frantically. "Wanwan, the ceremony is about to start. Have you been able to reach Huo Yichang yet?" Suwon's eyes darkened. She had a bad feeling about this. Just then, her personal AI, Xiaobai, announced an incoming call from Huo Yichang. He claimed he had to go rescue her sister, Suman, but swore he'd make it back in time. Her mother was practically fuming. "Suman again. I never should have let your father adopt her." Suwon stared at her reflection in the mirror and let out a cold laugh. What a coincidence! When she was 13, the starship she was on was attacked by pirates. Gravely injured, she spent 5 years recovering in a cryostasis pod. When she woke up, she had a new little sister at home. Her father claimed she was the child of a dear friend and treated her like his own. The girl might have been young, but she was a master manipulator. Not only had she charmed Suwon's brothers into doting on her, but now she was trying to steal her childhood sweetheart too. "If you had just told me you two were in love, I would have stepped aside," Suwon muttered to herself. "It's not like I have to marry Huo Yichang." But now, she had a much bigger problem. It was almost noon. Where was she supposed to find a decent-looking man to marry on such short notice? As someone who was obsessed with good looks, she refused to let the system pair her with some random reject. The thought of a pig-faced stranger kissing her was terrifying. With a new resolve, she told her mother the wedding would proceed as planned. She was just stepping out to find a new groom. Suwon peeked around the hotel corridor, when a flash of movement caught her eye. She backtracked and leaned in for a closer look. "Who are you?" she asked, her eyes landing on an impossibly handsome man with fluffy ears and a big bushy tail. "Ajue, my name is Ajue." The adorable, puppy-like beastman before her was perfect in every way. What a shame, she thought. He was probably, maybe, underage? But her priority right now was finding a man to marry. Suwon gathered her dress to leave, but Ajue tugged on the hem, looking up at her with pleading eyes. "Where are you going?" She instinctively ruffled his fluffy hair. "Big sister has to go find a man to marry. I'll come back and play with you later, okay?" "No, don't go, please." Aju's big, teary eyes were full of hope. Suwon sighed softly. "It's a shame you're not an adult yet. Otherwise, I could have asked you to help me out." Aju's face lit up. "I am an adult," he said excitedly. She couldn't help but laugh. "You're cute, but are you pulling my leg?" "Fine, show me your terminal. If you're really an adult, you can help me out." Ajue obediently held out his wrist. His terminal was heavily damaged, but the marriage application button was still glowing. Suwon hesitated. "Maybe I can just marry him now and divorce him later? Besides, with a face like that, I could support him for 1,000,000 years. Just as she was wavering, she heard footsteps. It was Huo Yichang's mother and his sister, Huo Jiaojiao. Suwon instinctively pushed Ajue behind her and shushed him. Huo Jiaojiao swaggered over, looking smug. "Suwon, my brother still isn't here. What are you going to do now?" Her mother grabbed Suwon's wrist, her voice dripping with fake sympathy. "Just wait a little longer, dear." Suwon wasn't buying it. If Huo Yichang truly wanted to come back, he'd be here by now. She told them to return to the banquet hall, promising the wedding would go on as planned. After sending the venomous pair away, Xiaobai reminded her that time was running out and the main system's review process would take a while. Hearing this, Ajue poked his head out, wagging his big tail excitedly as if to say, "Pick me, pick me." "If you marry me, will your family object?" she asked. "They wouldn't dare." Suwon took a deep breath and held out her hand to the fluffy creature. "Ajue, will you marry me?" Suwon and Ajue scanned each other's terminals and sent the marriage application. The review would take up to an hour. With time to spare, Suwon pulled Ajue along to get him a suit. The moment he stood up, he towered a full head over her. The soft, cuddly fox boy had transformed into a tall, imposing, and devastatingly handsome man. But where could they find a suit that fit him on such short notice? Reluctantly, she decided to have him try on Huo Yichang's suit, hoping it would fit. A few moments later, Ajue called out, "Big sister, the clothes are a little small." The fabric of the suit was stretched taut over his well-defined muscles, and his big fluffy tail was impossible to hide. Suwon tried to tuck it away, but he blushed beet red. "I can do it myself, sister." She stepped out to give him some privacy. When he emerged a moment later, he was a completely different person. The suit, though snug, made him look incredibly sharp. As Suwon adjusted his tie, she anxiously wondered why the main system hadn't approved their application yet. Meanwhile, news of First Commander Guju's disappearance reached the Emperor Guzilan. The Emperor knew his uncle was in his manic phase and extremely vulnerable. If anyone else found him, the consequences would be dire. He immediately ordered a lockdown and a thorough search. Just as he was worrying, the main system AI, Baize, sent him a marriage request for final approval. The Emperor slammed his fist on the desk. I have you running this system and you can't even handle a single marriage application? Since the Emperor had spoken, Baize had no choice but to quickly hit the approve button. If anything went wrong later, he wasn't taking the blame. At the same time, the two newlyweds received the notification, application approved. Suwon's mother burst through the door. Wonwon, it's already 11. Your father wants to know if we should just call this whole thing. Her words died in her throat when she saw Suwon on the arm of a strange man. Who is he? She asked, stunned. He's my husband now, Suwon replied with a smile. Her mother's jaw dropped. Suwon didn't have time to explain. She grabbed Ajui's hand, ready to get the ceremony over with. But she noticed he felt feverish and seemed unwell. Her mother immediately realized what was happening. It must be his manic phase. Suwon didn't understand. Xiaobai explained that because beastmen were a throwback to a more primitive ancestry, they went through an annual manic phase after reaching adulthood. During this period, they became emotionally unstable and desperately craved security. Afterward, their memories of the phase would be hazy. Usually, a beastman's partner was their only remedy. Those without one had to use a special serum. Suwon asked her mother to find some of the serum while they went through with the ceremony. In the wedding hall, guests were growing restless, eagerly waiting to see the Su family make a fool of themselves. Suwon's father's face was dark with anger, and he would have already exploded if his older brother hadn't been there to calm him down. Suddenly, the grand doors swung open and a stunning couple made their entrance. The bride was beautiful, the groom was handsome, and the crowd was left speechless. They just hadn't expected Suwon to show up with a completely different groom. Ignoring the whispers, Suwon's only concern was whether Ajue could hold on. She quickly signaled the officiant to speed things up. Groom, do you take Miss Suwon to be your wife? I do. Bride, do you take this? The officiant trailed off, so embarrassed he could have dug a hole to another dimension. No one had told him the new groom's name. Suwon didn't wait. She wrapped her arms around Aju's neck and declared, I do. Let us congratulate the newlyweds. The banquet will now begin. Back in the dressing room, there was still no sign of her mother with the serum. Suwon told Xiaobai to quickly look up any other remedies. Master, you can be his personal remedy. Suwon didn't quite get what that meant, but a fluffy tail was already wrapping around her waist. Ayue took her hand, his eyes misty. Sister, I feel so awful. Help me. Ajue's symptoms were getting worse. Suwon tried to soothe him, telling him the serum would be there soon. As she stood up to look for her mother, Ajue wrapped his arms around her from behind, holding her tight. You won't leave me, will you, sister? Suwon felt a bit awkward. I can't promise that. Once your manic phase is over, you might be the one who wants to leave. Before she could explain, Ajue leaned in close, his breath hot against her skin. It was then that Suwon finally understood what Xiaobai meant by personal remedy. But Ajue wasn't giving her much time to think. So hot, it hurts. He had just helped her out of a huge jam. And how could anyone refuse such a gorgeous, vulnerable boy? Suwon stopped hesitating and pressed her lips to his. What followed is not safe for work. But rest assured I watched it for you. Meanwhile, outside the banquet hall, her father, Su Zhen, cornered his wife, furiously demanding to know what was going on with Suwon. Lin Ranyue was vague, as she wasn't entirely sure herself. But all Su Zhen cared about was whether they had offended the Huo family. Lin Ranyue was exasperated. Huo Yichang was the one who stood her up. Shouldn't the Huo family be the ones explaining themselves to us? You don't understand business. You've spoiled Wonwon rotten. If she were half as sensible as Manmin, she wouldn't have embarrassed me like this today. Lin Ranyue laughed coldly. You think you're embarrassed? Have you even considered Wonwon's feelings? And you have the nerve to tell her to be more like Suman? Huo Yichang ditched the wedding because of Suman. Let me ask you, with how you dote on Suman, who's your real daughter? Slap! The sound of the slap brought a sudden silence. Su Zhen instantly regretted it. But for Lin Ranyue, it was the final straw. Su Zhen, she said, her voice eerily calm, expect to receive my divorce filing. After composing himself, Su Zhen accompanied his father to see off two important guests from the first district. Before leaving, the guests expressed their curiosity about the new groom, remarking that he looked familiar and even resembled the emperor. Just then, they received a secret directive from the emperor himself and had to depart immediately. The next morning, Suwon woke up starving and disoriented. She looked down to see a man's arm draped over her waist and a fluffy tail wrapped around her ankle. The embarrassing memories of the previous night flooded back, reminding her that she was now a married woman. As she tried to move his arm, she accidentally activated his terminal. and a flood of messages poured in. The person who had sent the most was someone named Gu Zilan, and the latest message read, "Uncle, where are you? Are you okay?" Su Wan was shocked that Ajue was an uncle. The name Gu Zilan also sounded familiar. Before she could sort it out, Aju's AI popped up. "Good morning, madam. My name is Bai Hu. I am the commander's personal AI. You can call me Da Bai." The sheer amount of information was making her head spin. Da Bai continued his introduction. "Gu Zilan is the name of His Majesty, the Emperor of our Federation. Normally, no one is permitted to speak his name directly, but you may, as he is now your nephew." Su Wan nodded numbly. "I see. Wait, what did you just say?" "You heard correctly, madam. The first commander of the Imperial Federation, Gu Jue, the current emperor's uncle, is now your legal husband." Su Wan froze. She could already see the headlines. Federation's first commander loses virginity in marriage scam. The culprit is a nobody. She was so screwed. Committing marriage fraud in the Federation would get you 30 years in a labor prison. Panicked, she scrambled out of bed and ran. Su Wan couldn't believe that the soft, cuddly foxboy Ajue was actually the cold, ruthless imperial god of war, Gu Jue. Her mind was buzzing. Lin Ranyue explained that she had been so angry the night before that she had forgotten to bring the serum, then tearfully described how Su Zhen had slapped her. Su Wan's heart ached for her mother. She comforted her, then joked, "Next time he dares to hit you, we'll take a mech and slap him back." The vivid image made her mother laugh through her tears. After calming down, Lin Ranyue asked who the groom from yesterday really was. "His AI says he's the first commander, Guje." Lin Ranyue's jaw dropped. Then, Wan, how could you still— Su Wan was kicking herself. She had just picked up a random cute boy who would have thought he was the biggest deal in the galaxy. She'd run for it while he was still asleep. Lin Ranyue immediately realized the gravity of the situation. If the commander found out he'd been used, would he hold a grudge against the Su family? Suddenly, Su Wan shot up from the sofa. "Maybe I should send him a message to apologize? I'll compensate him with whatever he wants. And if he wants a divorce, I'll sign immediately." As much as she'd miss his handsome face, her life was more important. She opened her terminal and started typing. She wrote and deleted the message 99 times, but nothing sounded right. Meanwhile, Ajue woke up to an empty bed. Bai Hu reported, "Madam has already left. However, she's trying to send you a message. She's been editing it for a while now." Aju waited expectantly, hoping for a heartfelt essay. But after a long time, not even a single punctuation mark arrived. Bai Hu tried to smooth things over. Perhaps Madam is just shy. Tired of waiting, Gujue decided to head back to see the Emperor. The moment they met, Guzilan expressed his concern for his uncle's well-being. "I'm in perfect health," Gujue stated flatly. Guzilan breathed a sigh of relief. Guju then requested a connection to the main system AI, Baize, and asked if he was the one who had approved his marriage application. Baize answered confidently, "It was His Majesty who authorized it." Guzilan choked, spraying a mouthful of coffee. Baize quickly explained, "Last night I did indeed receive Commander Gu's marriage application. I sought your guidance, and you told me to handle it according to protocol. Based on the rules, the commander and the young lady met all the conditions for marriage, so I approved it." It was a masterclass in shifting blame, and Guzilan found himself unable to argue. He immediately tried to fix the situation by ordering Baizi to dissolve the marriage. "That won't be necessary," Gujue interrupted. Guzilan's gossip senses were tingling. "Don't tell me, you're actually happy with this marriage, uncle?" Before he could dig for more details, Bai Hu reported, "Sir, pirate activity has been detected in the 3rd district. Please proceed immediately." With that, Gujue was off again. Guzilan found the situation more and more amusing. He was dying to see what kind of woman could make his stoic, old-as-tree uncle finally show a spark of interest. On the other side of the city, Su Wan's second brother intercepted her, telling her their grandfather wanted to see her. "This is all your fault," he grumbled. "Mom and Dad are getting a divorce because of you." Su Wan just laughed coldly. "And why don't you go blame Huo Yichang and Suman?" As they were arguing, the green tea stepsister herself, Suman, appeared. "Second brother, please don't fight. It's all my fault." Worried about her feigned injuries, her brother rushed to her side. But Suman's only goal was to get him to leave so she could speak to Su Wan alone. The moment he was gone, she turned on the waterworks. "Sister, I'm so sorry. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just hope you won't be angry with Brother Huo, okay?" She sobbed, looking utterly pitiful. Unfortunately for her, Su Wan wasn't buying it. She mimicked Suman's syrupy tone. "Manman, do you smell that?" Suman blinked her innocent eyes. "Smell what?" Su Wan leaned in and whispered with a smile. "The thick, bitter scent of green tea." "Why would I be mad at you?" Su Wan said sweetly. "I should be thanking you. Because Ho Yichang didn't show up, I had to find someone else to marry. And as fate would have it, I met the most handsome and thoughtful man I've ever seen. And it's all thanks to you, my dear sister. The little green tea was completely thrown. Sister, didn't you love Brother Ho the most? You were childhood sweethearts. Besides, if you don't marry him, it will affect the business relationship between our families, won't it? Why would it? You're a Su daughter too, man. All you have to do is offer yourself to Huo Yicheng to repay him for saving your life. That way, our families can still be joined by marriage. It's a win-win, isn't it? Suwan's reaction was the complete opposite of what she'd expected. She thought Suwan would scream and curse at her, not dismiss it so calmly. Frustrated, the little green tea made an excuse and limped away. Suwan watched her go, clicking her tongue. That's all it takes to break you. A little while later, Suwan entered her grandfather's study. Seeing her alone, he asked, "Where's that young man from yesterday?" Suwan lied, saying he had urgent business to attend to. She didn't want to deceive her grandfather, but it was best to keep the commander's identity a secret for now. Seeing her hesitation, her grandfather assumed the boy's family wasn't respectable. Suwan froze, unsure how to explain that a single cough from that man could cause the Su family empire to collapse. Her grandfather stated confidently, "Don't worry, the Su family can afford to support him." "Oh, Grandpa," she thought, "you have no idea. Even with all our money, we could never afford to support the first commander of the galaxy." She quickly changed the subject. "Grandpa, you wanted to see me? I wanted to discuss the new branch in the first district. You and Suman will both be starting at the Imperial University soon, and your father wants Suman to take over the branch. But I trust you more. After all, the restaurant belongs to the Su family. We can't just hand it over to an adopted daughter." Suwan understood. "Don't worry, Grandpa. I won't let you down." Leaving her grandfather's study, she felt a weight lift from her shoulders. Her father may have been biased, but at least her grandfather was on her side. With the university semester and the new restaurant branch starting soon, things were about to get busy. Just then, her terminal buzzed with a call from Huo Yicheng. She angrily declined it, but he immediately started spamming her with messages. Finally, she gave in and answered. The jerk had the nerve to ask her why she had married someone else. The girl laughed in disbelief. "You're asking me why I got married? I know you had your reasons, and it was my fault for not making it back. Divorce him." "Don't mind." "Well, I mind you. Huo Yicheng, have you no shame? You were the one who ran off, you were the one who humiliated me, and now you have the gall to question me? Go marry Suman if you want, just stop making me sick." She hung up, but a second later her terminal rang again. "Huo Yicheng, are you ever going to give up? You ditched me for Suman, and now you're crawling back to me. Do you want to marry us both?" The other end was silent. Then a deep masculine voice came through. "Who wants to marry two people?" Suwan froze. She looked at the screen and realized the call wasn't from her ex. It was from her husband, the first commander. When Suwan realized who was on the line, her soul nearly left her body. All he did was say his name, but the fierce woman from moments before instantly turned into a meek little rabbit. He was, after all, Gu Jue, the first commander, a man you did not want to cross. All she could do was apologize over and over, promising to compensate him in any way she could after the divorce. But Gu Jue simply hung up without another word. She quickly sent him a message, only to receive a 3-word reply: "Let's meet." Suwan felt like her life was over. It was the interstellar age. Why did they have to meet in person? Weren't messages or holograms more efficient? She sent him a dozen more messages, but they all went unanswered. The thought of meeting her stranger husband kept her up all night. The next morning, her dear father, Su Zhen, came to scold her for not forgiving Huo Yicheng. Su Zhen had always favored Suman, so Suwan decided to fight fire with fire, adopting Suman's innocent green tea persona. "Dad, you've misunderstood me. Can't you see that Manman and Huo Yicheng are in love? I married someone else to give them my blessing." Su Zhen was stunned. But Suwan's performance was so convincing that he ended up apologizing for misjudging her. He then immediately rushed off to discuss Suman and Huo Yicheng's engagement with the Huo family. After successfully getting rid of her father, Suwan marveled at her own acting skills. With that sorted, she headed to a small private kitchen to start her live stream as planned. It turned out Suwan was a famous food blogger with tens of millions of followers. She always used a voice modulator and never showed her face, so her fans affectionately called her Chef God. Today, she was going to prepare a long-lost classic sweet and sour squirrel-shaped mandarin fish. Meanwhile, Gujie was trying to work, but his AI Dabai was drooling over the livestream. Annoyed by the slurping sounds, Gujie ordered it to go on mute or face a forced shutdown. Dabai grumbled, complaining that his master had no taste. If he could just try Chef God's food, he'd understand, the AI thought. It enlisted the help of the main system, Bai Zhe, to find out who this Chef God was, hoping to hire her to cook a meal for Gujie. When the results came in, Dabai was so excited it almost short-circuited. "Holy crap, it's Madame Suwan!" Hearing his wife's name, Gujue was suddenly interested. Is she still live? Put it on screen. On the stream, Suwon was just finishing up. A viewer asked, Chef God, who are you making that for? Suwon smiled. For my family, of course. The word family made a certain someone feel personally included. What's the most expensive gift I can send on here? He asked. A luxury starship for 1,000 star coins, Dabai replied. Less than 10 seconds later, 9,999 luxury starships flooded the chat. Suwon was stunned. It was the most insane gift spree she had ever seen. To thank this mysterious Mr. Cold, she decided to teleport the dish to him. After the stream, she cooked a few more dishes and sent them along as well. When Gushui received the food, he was content just looking at it. He carefully picked up a piece and put it in his mouth. The taste was familiar, and it stirred a strange sense of emotion within him. Dabi gloated beside him. See? I told you Madam was an amazing cook. She'd be so happy if she knew you were Mr. Cold. Guju's expression suddenly darkened. No, she wouldn't. Right now, all she wants is to divorce me. Dabai was exasperated by his master's denseness. You haven't even talked to her. You haven't publicly announced your marriage. Of course she feels insecure. Just explain things to her, and I'm sure she'll understand. Guju stared at the screen for a long moment. What Dabai said actually made a lot of sense. Guju's announcement that he was married instantly became the top trending topic. Suwon worried her identity would be exposed next. Her mother, Lin Ranyu, saw her daughter's anxiety and reassured her. The commander must have controlled the media to protect you. There's no information about you online. Suwon knew it was only a matter of time. The wedding guests had seen Guje, and sooner or later people would put two and two together. At that moment, Suman showed up, interrupting their conversation. Lin Ranyue didn't hold back. You just have to stick your nose in everything, don't you? No wonder you ended up with a limp. The little green tea immediately started crying. Mother, I know you don't like me. Just then, Sujen walked in. Man, who's bullying you? Suwon jumped in before he could get an answer. No one's bullying Man. Mom was just telling us the story of how you two fell in love, and Man was so moved she started crying. Sujen looked embarrassed and didn't press the issue, instead telling them it was time for lunch. Before leaving, Suwon shot a warning at her stepsister. Whether my parents get divorced or not, your mother is never setting foot in this house. You should be resting that leg of yours. Don't wander around or you might hurt the other one. Are you threatening me? The little green tea hissed. Seeing another performance about to start, Suwon adopted her sweet sing-song voice. I'm just worried about you, my dear sister. Suman forced a smile. Thank you for your concern, sister. Watching her nemesis fume, Suwon felt a surge of satisfaction. The best way to fight magic is with magic. At the restaurant, the family sat down for a rare meal together. The little green tea subtly tugged on her father's sleeve. Dad, Wanwan, and Manmin are starting school soon. Shouldn't we decide who's going to manage the new branch in the first district? Their grandfather, who had already made up his mind, said, There's no rush. Neither of them has any experience. Sujen jumped in. Man has been learning from me at the restaurant for 2 years. Besides, Wanwan's health isn't the best. I don't want her to overwork herself. His blatant favoritism made Lin Ranyu so angry she almost flipped the table. But Suwon had a plan. She calmed her mother down and then proposed to her grandfather that they both take on the role temporarily and learn from each other. The final decision could be based on their performance. That's a good idea, Wanwan, her grandfather agreed. Her second brother, who was scrolling on his terminal, looked up. Why are you even fighting over this? The entertainment industry is way better. Suddenly, his eyes widened as if he'd seen a ghost. Grandpa, Dad, look at this! Everyone gathered around. The first commander of the Imperial Federation, Gu Jue, had attended a public event without his mask for the first time. His stunning looks were breaking the internet, but seeing his face on the screen made everyone at the table freeze in shock. The little green tea was the first to speak. Sister, is that commander related to the man you married the other day? Suwon remained perfectly calm. They're not related. The stepsister breathed a sigh of relief. Oh, so they just look alike. Not alike. You can guess a little bolder than that. Her face turned pale. Sister, you must be joking. Her grandfather immediately demanded an explanation. Suwon sighed. The commander and I fell in love at first sight, so we got married. Sujin immediately began scolding her for not telling them sooner, worried they had been disrespectful to the commander. Suwon waved it off. It's fine. He had to leave on official business, but we agreed to meet up in the first district. Her grandfather nodded, pleased. Perfect. We'll all go for the restaurant opening and to see you off for the university semester. It'll be a good chance to pay our respects to the commander. Lin Ranyue quickly intervened. That's not necessary. Su Yun will meet them at the school. Besides, the commander is a busy man. Wanwan should contact him first so we don't impose. She then gave Suwon an out. Why don't you go to your room and contact him now? Suwon took the hint and left. Just as she was about to call Gujue, a video call from Ho Yichang popped up. Wanwan, I saw the news. Did you really marry the commander? What about our engagement? She had no desire to talk to the shameless jerk, but he was persistent, even threatening her with their family's business partnership. Suwon wasn't worried. She knew he wouldn't dare to cut ties, so she ended the call. It was the first day of the semester at the Imperial University, and Soo-yoon was waiting at the main gate, his handsome face attracting a crowd of admirers. Just then, a starship descended, and Suwon stepped out in a stunning outfit, instantly capturing the attention of every male in the vicinity. Even Soo-yoon's best friend was smitten. Soo-yoon, your sister is gorgeous. Why didn't you ever tell us? A moment later, Suman also disembarked. Suwon and his friend Mo Erduo rushed forward to greet them. Suman strode forward happily, calling out, "Brother, you came to pick me up." But to her dismay, her doting older brother walked right past her to greet Suwon. "Mo Erduo, can you take my sister to the literature department?" Mo Erduo's eyes lit up. "Of course, my pleasure." His excitement lasted for half a second before he was told he was escorting Suman, not Suwon, who was in the medical department. Though disappointed, he dutifully led Suman away. Soo-yoon personally walked Suwon to her dormitory. He couldn't help but ask, "The man you married, was he really Commander Gu? If so, shouldn't our family pay him a formal visit?" Suwon sighed. Of course, he only cared now that there was something to be gained. Unwilling to be used, she told him Gudre was busy, and said a cheerful goodbye to her brother. She arrived at her dorm room, excited to meet her new roommates. The door opened to reveal a girl with fiery red hair who looked less than friendly. Suwon offered a polite but awkward smile. "Hi, I'm Suwon from the medical department." The redhead looked her up and down. "Which district are you from?" she asked haughtily. "The 3rd district." As soon as the words left her mouth, the girl turned away and walked out without another word. Another roommate stepped forward to explain. "That's Luo Gina. She's in our major. She's from the 1st district. Her father is Admiral Luo and her older sister is the Empress." "I'm Sheng-an from the 10th district. It's nice to meet you." Suwon nodded, understanding now why the redhead was so arrogant. She warmly shook Sheng-an's hand. "I'm Suwon, from the 3rd district. It's great to meet you too." Sheng-an looked at her nervously. "Aren't you surprised? About Luo Gina's background or the fact that I'm from a common district?" Suwon smiled. "Our backgrounds don't matter here. We're all just students at the Imperial University. The only thing that counts is our own ability." Back in her room, Suwon opened her terminal and made a call to an important contact. At the same time, in the commander's office, Dabai announced, "Sir, you have an incoming call on the backup number you gave the Su family." "It's from Madam. Should I connect you?" Guju cleared his throat. "Connect it, but keep the video off." "Hello, this is Suwon from the Su family restaurant. I'm sorry to bother you, but I wanted to thank you for your help with the restaurant." "It was nothing. I enjoy the food there." "I'm sorry, I don't think I ever got your name." "You can call me Mr. G." Her grandfather had mentioned this benefactor worked in the Imperial Palace, so Suwon took a chance. "Mr. G, do you happen to know Commander Gu?" Little did she know this powerful figure was none other than her scam husband Gu Jue, and he was more than happy to help, even telling a few white lies just to keep her on the line. Dabai was convinced the first commander of the galaxy was hopelessly in love. The next day was the opening ceremony for new students at the Imperial University. Suwon ran into her slimy ex-fiancé, Ho Yichang, who immediately tried to cozy up to her. "You're in my way," a sharp voice cut in. The red-haired girl, Luo Gina, looked up at him impatiently. "This is my seat. Who are you?" "I've been watching you sneak around for a while now. Are you a thief? This is the women's section. Are you a woman?" Ho Yichang was left speechless and slunk away in defeat. Suwon thanked Luo Gina for stepping in, but the haughty girl just shrugged it off. Soon the three of them, the beautiful heiress, the royal adjacent hothead, and the girl from the common district, became the subject of intense gossip. The really pretty one is Suwon from the Su family. The redhead is Luo Gina, the Empress's sister. And there's one from the common districts. What a shame. Suwon glanced at Sheng-an, who was nervously biting her lip. She took her hand to distract her. "And I was thinking of setting up a small kitchen in the corner of our dorm's living room. Would you mind?" Sheng-an's eyes lit up. "That's amazing, you can cook?" Luo Gina, however, was skeptical. "Can you actually cook?" she challenged. "If it tastes bad, you're tearing it down." Suddenly, the auditorium erupted in a frenzy of whispers and gasps. A man was walking onto the stage, and his impossibly handsome face had every girl in the room swooning. Everyone except for Suwon, who felt her blood run cold. "Gu Wei, what is he doing here?" She was instantly reminded of that night and wanted to crawl into a hole. "There are so many people here," she told herself. "He won't see me." But just as she looked up, her eyes met his. Suwon wanted to disappear. A moment later, a message appeared on her terminal. It was from Gu Jue, asking her to meet him. She knew it was probably about the divorce, and she just prayed she wasn't about to get sentenced to 30 years of hard labor. When the ceremony finally ended, Su-won walked with a heavy heart to the designated meeting place. "Commander Gu, I'm coming in." She found him asleep, transformed into his half-beastman state. He looked fluffy, soft, and completely different from the cold commander she knew. She was mesmerized, especially by his big, furry ears. She was tempted to give them a little scratch while he was asleep. But just then he opened his eyes. Her heart nearly leaped out of her chest. "Commander Gu, you're awake!" He could see she was scared of him. She quickly waved her hands. Not scared, just respectful. She found a seat, and after a long silence, Gu Jue finally spoke. "Were you this respectful when I was in my manic phase?" He had to bring that up. Su-won panicked, thinking he was about to punish her for what happened. The memory of that night was embarrassing, but she knew she had to face it head-on. "Do you not remember what happened?" she asked tentatively. "I only remember you asking me to marry you." Her heart skipped a beat. "Commander Gu, are you here to discuss the divorce?" He looked up, his gaze sharp. "Who said anything about a divorce?" Su-won was stunned. "You're not?" He shook his head. "We're not getting a divorce." "So, you mean we're staying married?" Guji frowned slightly and let out a quiet, clearly a little annoyed. Just then, his terminal beeped. Dabai reminded him that his meeting with the Emperor was about to start. Su-won saw her chance to escape and stood up. "You're coming with me," he said, stopping her. Her eyes widened. "What?" "Zealand said he's never met you. This is a good chance for him to give you a red envelope." Su-won was speechless again. "Do I look like I need a red envelope?" Soon they arrived at the Imperial Palace. It was her first time inside, and she felt like a nervous bride meeting the in-laws. She leaned close to Gu Jue and whispered, "If the Emperor asks how we got married, what should I say?" "Tell him the truth," he replied coolly. "That I was scared of getting a husband assigned to me, so I grabbed the first handsome guy I saw and forced him to marry me because I fell in love at first sight," she blurted out. He winced slightly. Just the last part. The moment they entered the main hall, they were greeted by the Emperor, Guzilan, and the Empress, Luomanya. Seeing Su-won in her university uniform, Guzilan asked, "Did you two just come from the university?" "Call her auntie," Guju said, dead serious. Guzilan stared at the beautiful 20-something girl in front of him, completely unable to form the word. Su-won was dying of embarrassment. Seeing the Emperor's stunned expression, she tugged on Gujue's sleeve. The cold commander glanced down at her small gesture as if to ask, "What's wrong?" Thankfully, the gentle Empress, Luomanya, stepped in and took Su-won's hand, striking up a cheerful conversation that instantly diffused the awkward tension. Meanwhile, Gu Jue shot a cold look at his nephew. "Aren't you forgetting something?" "No." The look in Gu Jue's eyes made him quickly reconsider. He suddenly remembered and had a servant bring over a blue gift box. "Little auntie, this is a welcome gift from us." The box was sparkling, and Su-won glanced at Gu Jue before accepting. When he nodded, she took it, feeling like a little kid who needed permission to take a piece of candy. Goza told her to open it. Inside was a small palm-sized mechanical button. "What is this?" she asked. "It's the controller for a private, top-of-the-line starship. It has the royal family's insignia, so no one will ever dare to stop you." Her eyes lit up. "Wow! Can I travel the universe in it?" "You can. My brother and his wife took a trip for a few years, but I'm busy lately." Su-won was speechless. "Are you talking to yourself, Commander? I didn't say I wanted to go with you." The Emperor and Empress watched them from the side, silently enjoying the show. A little while later, Gu Jue and Su-won left the palace. Suddenly, she felt something warm wrap around her waist. She looked down and saw a very familiar fluffy tail. "Commander, what are you?" The man's beautiful eyes seemed to be covered in a layer of mist. "Manic phase," he whispered. Su-won was confused. "Didn't you already have yours this year?" Gujo suddenly stumbled and she quickly caught him. "Dabai," she yelled. "Your master is in this state and you're just going to play dead?" "I'm not, madam, I swear," the AI cried. "My master isn't like other beastmen. He has a manic phase almost every month, and the special serum doesn't work on him anymore." Su-won's head started to spin. She had a very bad feeling about this. Ever since Su-won had taken on that role, all other serums had become ineffective for him. This made her wonder, was the reason Gu Hui didn't want a divorce because he intended to use her as a long-term cure? For now, though, her priority was getting the weakened Gu Ji home. They soon arrived at his residence, a place that was as vast as it was cold and empty. Seeing the lonely mansion, Su-won felt an unexpected pang of pity. He was the god of war, second only to the emperor, yet he lived all by himself in such a desolate place. He helped the frail Ajue onto the sofa, but the next second he pulled her onto his lap. His misty eyes locked onto hers. As he gently cupped her face and leaned in for a kiss, his fluffy ears trembling with emotion. Suddenly, he pulled back, his eyes welling up with tears as he begged her not to leave. Soo-won gently wiped a tear from the corner of his eye. "I won't leave. Don't cry. If anyone saw this, they'd think I was bullying you." Ah-ji took the opportunity to be clingy. "Then kiss me again." She was powerless against the soft, adorable Ah-jue and leaned in to kiss him again. The air grew thick with tension. This time, things moved even faster than before, so we'll just skip ahead to avoid any motion sickness. The next morning, Soo-won woke up sore all over. Xiaobai chirped, "Master, it's 8:15. You have 15 minutes until class. If you don't get up now, you'll be late and lose academic points." Soo-won silently cursed Gu Jue for being even more relentless this time. He was practically inhuman. Just then, Ah-jue woke up. Perhaps feeling guilty about the previous night, he had Dabai fly her back to the university. Thankfully, the AI got her to the classroom just in time. After thanking Dabai, she hurried inside, only to be blocked by her green tea stepsister, Soo-man. "Sister, you're finally back. I went to your dorm last night, but you weren't there." "I was starting to think..." Soo-man trailed off meaningfully. Soo-won laughed. "If I hadn't come back, I'm sure you would have started all sorts of rumors about me, right? What kind of trap are you setting for me with this fake concern?" Soo-man put on a hurt expression. "Sister, why would you think that? I was genuinely worried about you." Soo-won just snorted. "Thanks, but no thanks." Soo-won made it clear to her roommates that the green tea stepsister, Soo-man, was not her real sister. Sheng-an immediately understood their relationship was strained and dropped the subject. Luo Jina, however, frowned and asked Soo-won directly if she was really Commander Gu's wife. Soo-won was surprised for a moment, but she knew the truth would come out eventually. It was better to just own it. "Yep," she said casually. Luo Jina and Sheng-an looked like they had been struck by lightning. After a moment, Luo Jina couldn't help but ask the question the entire Federation was dying to know. "How did you two get together?" Soo-won tilted her head playfully. "It was love at first sight." After class, Soo-won told her roommates she wouldn't be back that night because she had to go to the Soo family restaurant with her stepsister. Luo Jina pointed out that Soo-man had already left in a private starship without her. Soo-won just shrugged, saying she could take a public one, and gracefully left the classroom. At that moment, her pathetic ex-fiancé decided to make a move to win her back. Just as he stepped forward, a silver metal sphere zipped past his face. "What was that?" he yelped. The sphere stopped in front of Soo-won, and a respectful voice emanated from it. "Madam, I am here to take you home." Soo-won smiled at it. "Okay, thank you, Dabai." Dabai turned back to the ex and made a raspberry sound, warning him to stay away from its mistress. Meanwhile, Gu Jue, who was in a meeting, received a message from Dabai. It was a photo with a caption, "Master, this scumbag is trying to steal your wife." A wave of jealousy washed over Gu Jue. His face darkened, and he abruptly announced a 5-minute break. The other officers were stunned. The workaholic commander was actually letting an outside matter interrupt him. The message had to be from his mysterious wife. Gu Jue stepped out of the conference room and had Dabai connect a holographic call. Suddenly, a handsome face appeared in front of Soo-won, startling her. "Commander, aren't you in a meeting? It's a break." Soo-won gathered her courage and asked, "Commander, Dabai said you want me to move in with you?" Gu Jue's expression was unreadable. "We're married," was all he said. "But I have school," she hesitated. "You can take a starship to school. You can stay at the dorm occasionally if you need to." Something felt off. She took a deep breath and asked, "Commander, the reason you don't want a divorce, and why you want me to move in, is it because of your manic phase?" She was a little intimidated by his cold demeanor, but she had to know the truth. She couldn't just be someone's personal remedy without understanding why. But just as she asked, the image on her screen froze, and with a crackle of static, the connection was lost. Soo-won was dumbfounded when the call suddenly dropped. She asked Dabai what happened, and the AI, mortified that its master had resorted to the pretend-to-lose connection trick, had no choice but to take the blame and apologize profusely. Soo-won thought it was strange, but considering how busy Gu Jue was, she let it go. By then, the starship had arrived at the Soo family restaurant. Dabai looked at her expectantly. "When should I come pick you up?" "I'll let you know after the commander's connection is back online," she said coolly, before striding into the restaurant. Inside, her grandfather, her father Soo-jin, and a man in a chef's uniform were having tea in the reception area. Soo-man was diligently refilling their cups. The man in the chef's uniform was her uncle, Soo-teng. He was quite fond of Soo-man, finding her intelligent and even wanting to take her on as his apprentice. After all, Soo-man was a master at winning people over. Only Soo-won's clueless father couldn't see her ambition for what it was. "Grandpa, Dad, Uncle," Soo-won said, politely greeting her elders. Soo-jin frowned at her. "Why are you late? And where were you last night? How can you manage a new branch if you're this irresponsible?" Suwon just laughed, turning her innocent eyes on Suman. My dear sister, you left without me after school, and you wasted no time tattling on me. But are you sure you all want to know where I was last night? Suman felt a flicker of unease, but Su Teng chimed in. Just say what you mean, Wanwan. Stop being so mysterious. Her grandfather remained silent, sipping his tea. Suwon looked at them and said slowly, I was with the commander last night. We went to the imperial palace to see the emperor and empress. Suteng, Suzhen, and Suman were all stunned into silence, their expressions a mix of shock and disbelief. Suman in particular looked furious. She suspected there was something fishy about Suwon's marriage and refused to believe the commander would take her to see the emperor. Suwon walked over to her grandfather and told him that the emperor and empress wanted to try his cooking. The old man was overjoyed, his eyes crinkling into a smile. In his good mood, he put Suwon in charge of the grand opening ceremony for the new branch. Suman's fake smile faltered. Sister, she said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. If you're hosting the opening, will your husband be there? Suwon met her gaze and scoffed. Man, why are you so interested in my husband? Meanwhile, Guhui finished his meeting for the day and finally remembered the wife he had abruptly hung up on. Dabai awkwardly relayed her message. Madam said you can't come get her until you answer her call. Gujie frowned slightly. He truly didn't understand why Suwon was so reluctant to move in. Dabai was about to have an aneurysm. My dear master, Madam thinks you only want to stay married because she's your personal remedy. You have to explain it to her so she doesn't misunderstand. Gujie's expression grew even colder. Dabai suggested he ask the more experienced emperor for advice. Gujie just glared. The AI quickly changed tactics, making something up on the spot. Master, you don't have to ask about yourself. Just say you have a friend who's fighting with his wife and she won't come home. Ask him what to do in that situation. Following Dabai's advice, Gujie sent a message to Guzilan. The emperor read it and immediately understood his uncle was having problems with his new wife. Winning over a woman? Easy, he replied. Send flowers, clothes, jewelry. If all else fails, just kiss her. Gujie read the message and his face darkened. His nephew was clearly unreliable. Night fell. By 7 p.m., Suwon had finally finished organizing the restaurant opening materials. Now she had to research the consumer habits and tastes of the first district to set the menu prices. Suman approached with a fake smile, asking if she needed any help. Suwon flatly refused and closed her terminal. She looked up at her stepsister and warned her that if she was going to spy or scheme, she might as well be open about it. With no one else around, Suman dropped the act. If you mess up this opening, no one will be able to protect you, she threatened, confident that she was the better choice to manage the new branch. You've spent years in a nutrient pod or sick at home. You have no idea how much I've worked for this. Suwon just smirked. Sucking up to everyone in the Su family. Is that what you call hard work? Is it because your mother is getting out of prison soon? Are you getting impatient? The comment hit its mark and Suman's smile froze. Who told you that? Suwon had already investigated everything. Suman's mother, Du Weiwei, was her father's first love. They were supposed to get married, but she ran off with a mysterious man from another star system right before the wedding. Years later, she ended up in an interstellar prison with a young daughter. Her father had eagerly adopted the child. Now Du Weiwei was about to be released, which was why Suman was so desperate to secure her position. Suman tried to stay calm. Don't you dare bring up my mother. And for the record, I doubt you can even get the commander to show up for your opening. She slammed her hand on the table in frustration. Dad wanted me to marry Brother Huo, but I refused. I didn't like him, I was just using him to get to you. She had meant to humiliate Suwon, but Suwon was unfazed by such childish attacks. She just thought it was time to let her stepsister know that the show was about to start. At that exact moment, the idiot who had been used without knowing it was standing right behind her. Suman turned, her face went pale, but she quickly recovered, grabbing Huo Yicheng's arm and cooing, Brother Huo, you're here. Why didn't you tell me? Huo Yicheng pulled his arm away, his eyes fixed on her. Man, what really happened with the starship that day? Suman was speechless. I always thought of you as my little sister, he said, his voice full of disappointment. You knew I loved Wanwan, so why would you do something like that? Her heart sank. He had heard everything. Suwon had no interest in watching Huo Yicheng and Suman's drama. She started to leave, but Huo Yicheng blocked her path, shamelessly begging her to take him back. He shoved a bouquet of flowers into her hands. Wanwan, I truly love you. It's always been you. Suman tricked me. I thought you understood. His words made her feel sick, and she slapped the flowers out of his hands. She knew he was only groveling because of his family's business interests. I don't want to understand you, she sneered. The only person I need to understand is my husband. Isn't that right, Commander Gu? Just then, Gujie appeared, looking impossibly handsome in his crisp military uniform. His presence was overwhelming, but what really stood out was the massive bouquet of red roses in his hand. Suwon's eyes lit up. She ran over to him, her face beaming. "Commander, what are you doing here? Are those for me?" Jue maintained his cool expression, but he gave a slight nod. Suwon took the roses, inhaling their sweet fragrance. Her mood instantly lifted. She never thought the cold, ruthless commander had a romantic bone in his body. In this era, fresh flowers, especially red roses, were an incredible luxury. In the corner, the other two were practically green with envy. Suddenly, Dabai popped up with a warning. "Master, pink roses mean first love. Huo Yichang is still trying to steal your wife." Guje turned and shot Huo Yichang a look that could kill. The room went silent, and Huo Yichang felt a chill run down his spine. "Are you here to see my wife?" Gujue asked, his voice dangerously low. Huo Yichang was terrified. "Commander Gu!" "You've misunderstood. I was here to see Suman." He quickly tossed his own bouquet of pink roses at Suman and fled without looking back. Seeing her plan had failed, Suman quickly followed. With the two pests gone, Suwon looked at Gujue. "Commander, it's so late. Why did you come all this way?" "We're married," he said, a hint of annoyance in his voice. "You don't need to be so formal." She smiled. "Okay. So, other than bringing me flowers, is there another reason you're here?" "I came to take you home. What about what we talked about earlier? We'll discuss it at home." Before she could respond, her grandfather and the others appeared. Seeing her grandfather's excited expression, she decided to drop it for now. Fine, home it is, she thought. His manic phase for the month is over, so as long as he's not that clingy crybaby, I can handle him. "Commander Gu, what an honor," her grandfather said respectfully. Her father and uncle also looked on in awe. Gujaya nodded slightly. "I came to pick up Wanwan." He gently put his arm around her shoulders. Her grandfather was thrilled to see them so close and immediately invited them to stay for dinner. Suwon was about to decline on Gujue's behalf, but to her surprise, he accepted. Her grandfather was so happy he announced he would personally cook them a feast. Worried that Gujue had only agreed out of politeness, Suwon quietly apologized to him. But he just smiled, a rare, gentle expression on his face, as he tucked a stray strand of hair behind her ear. It's normal for a family to eat together. A warmth spread through her chest. She was starting to feel something different for Gujue. Gujo stayed for dinner, and her grandfather, overjoyed, cooked a massive feast and even brought out his prized vintage liquor. Guju was surprisingly accommodating and drank with the old man. The Su family could hold their liquor, so Suwon worried her grandfather might drink him under the table. She quickly stepped in to run interference. "The commander has work tomorrow. Maybe I should take this one for him." Guja, already a bit tipsy, squinted at her like a stubborn child. "No, I can drink it." From the corner, a certain stepsister's face was dark. She couldn't figure out who Suwon was putting on a show for. Her grandfather asked Gu Hui if he liked the food. "It's good," he said, as concisely as ever. Suman jumped at the chance to stir up trouble. "I'm so glad you like it, Commander!" "Everyone in the Su family can cook except for my sister, unfortunately." Her grandfather frowned, and her father shot Suman a harsh look. Man, why would you say that?" Just as Suwon was about to explain, Guju cut in, fiercely protective. "Wanwan's cooking is delicious. She's cooked for me before." Everyone at the table stared in disbelief, especially Suman, whose face turned several shades of green. Suwon herself was confused, as she couldn't remember ever cooking for him. Not wanting to reveal his Mr. Cold identity, Gujue quickly changed the subject. "Let's eat," he said, piling food onto Suwon's plate. Suman was so angry she nearly snapped her chopsticks in half. After dinner, Suwon returned to Gujue's mansion. Da Bai, the little love guru, urged her to help the tipsy commander to his bedroom, adding with a wink, "It's the same room as last night. You remember, right?" The memories of that night, which she had tried to suppress, came flooding back. The Gujue from that night was a beast. She cleared her throat. "I remember." Dabe gave a mischievous little whir. "Master, this is as far as I can take you. The rest is up to you." Suwon helped Guju to the bed. The atmosphere in the room was tense, and she wanted to escape. "Commander Gu, I'll go make you some soup to help with the hangover." But as she turned to leave, he grabbed her wrist and pulled her down in front of him. The smell of liquor on his breath was intoxicating, and her face flushed red. Before she could react, his cool fingers traced her lips. His eyes were hazy from the alcohol. "Why don't you call me Ajue anymore?" Sister, why don't you call me Ajue anymore?" Suwon was both surprised and flustered. Weren't beastmen supposed to forget everything that happened during their manic phase? How could he remember? A flash of embarrassing memories crossed her mind, and she instinctively pushed him away, quickly promising to call him Ajue in private. She tried to use the hangover soup as an excuse to escape the awkward situation, but he pulled her back with surprising strength. "Don't wait." Gu Jue wrapped his arms around her, pulling her close. Sometime during their conversation, he had transformed into his half-beastman state. His large ears twitched like he was asking for affection, and his big, fluffy tail had already wrapped itself around her waist. He looked at her with misty, pleading eyes. "Wanwan, do you hate me?" "Of course I don't hate you," she said, shaking her head. She genuinely liked Ajue. Her decision to marry him really had been love at first sight. And while the cold Commander Gu was intimidating, she knew that intensity came from years of fighting on the battlefield to protect the Federation. How could she hate him for that? Her eyelashes fluttered as she looked at him. "It's just, the reason you don't want a divorce? Is it because you can't use the serum for your manic phase anymore?" Gujue just looked at her silently. Staring into his jewel-like eyes, she admitted that she felt partly responsible for the situation. "Then you have to take responsibility," he finally said. "Why me? Because you were the one who chose me." Su Wan fell silent. Was he saying that if he had been with someone else during his manic phase, they would have become his remedy instead? Seeing her silence, Gujue's expression fell. He slowly let go of her and said he was tired. He was leaving for an off-world mission in the morning and told her to sleep in the guest room. Su Wan was taken aback. It felt like he was avoiding the question. But she figured that since they weren't getting divorced, she could live with the arrangement for now. She was actually a little relieved he was going away for a while. Still, she couldn't help but think that Gujue wasn't a bad husband. Beneath his cold exterior, he was warm, brought her flowers, and defended her in front of others. After she left the room, Gujue went back to work. Dabai, feeling frustrated, grumbled that its master was clueless for sending his wife to another room. Guju's eyes darkened. He hadn't wanted her to leave, but he could tell she was a little scared of him. For the first time, he was jealous of his manic phase self. Just then, a housekeeping bot brought in the hangover soup, and he received a message from Su Wan. "See, Master," Dabai chirped, "Madam does care about you." The commander, who had been feeling a bit down, perked up, his tail giving a happy little swish. They exchanged goodnights, and each went to sleep. The next day, with 2 days left until the restaurant opening, Su Wan spent all her free time outside of class preparing. Her grandfather noticed Gujue wasn't on the guest list and asked why. Su Wan explained that he was away on a mission. Though disappointed, her grandfather understood and suggested she invite her 2 brothers instead. She had already tried. Her older brother had made an excuse about being busy as soon as he heard the commander wouldn't be there. Her second brother had flat out refused, saying he didn't want to upset Suman. Su Wan didn't care. They could come or not, she didn't need them. Her grandfather tried to comfort her, but still urged her to get them to come. Su Wan just smiled and told him not to worry. She had a plan to make the opening a massive success, with or without them. The day before the opening, Su Wan returned to her dorm to find that her mini-kitchen had been installed. She cooked a full meal and invited her 2 roommates to eat with her. Her 2 roommates raved about the food. Sheng An, who had never had stir-fried dishes before, was practically moved to tears. Seeing how much they enjoyed it, Su Wan promised to cook for them more often and invited them to the grand opening in 2 days, telling them to bring friends and that it was all on her. Luogina immediately messaged her sister, the Empress. Meanwhile, Commander Gu was reporting to the Emperor about the successful deployment of defenses on planet MT-320. Just then, the Empress came in to ask the Emperor if he was attending the opening of Su Wan's restaurant. As the Emperor, Gu Zilan couldn't make a public appearance, but he told the Empress she could go with her sister. On the other end of the line, Gujue's face went black. Before Gu Zilan could ask what was wrong, he had ended the call. He stared at the blank screen and said coldly, "She didn't tell me." Dabai was both worried and exasperated. "Master, if you keep being this proud, you're going to lose your wife." That only made his face darken further. Dabai quickly backtracked. "Maybe Madam just didn't want to bother you because she knows you're busy. Why don't you send her a message?" Guji was silent for a moment. He started to type, then stopped. He looked up at Dabai. "Get my adjutant Li Rui in here." "Yes, sir." Back in the dorm, the girl on everyone's mind let out a big sneeze. Luogina grinned. "The commander must be thinking about you." Su Wan waved it off. "He's too busy. It's definitely not him." A moment later, Luogina got a reply from her sister. She could attend the opening, but they had to be discreet. Su Wan assured her she would arrange a private room and a VIP entrance. Hearing that the Empress would be there, Sheng An grew nervous. Maybe I shouldn't go? You're my friend," Luogina cut in. "Don't be a coward." Su Wan also encouraged her. "And you're amazing. Besides, the Empress is a very kind person." Finally, with her friend's support, Sheng An agreed to go. The next day was the opening, and Su Wan confidently told her mother everything was ready. But Lin Ranyue was still worried because she had heard her 2 sons weren't coming. Su Wan, however, didn't care. They were never part of her plan anyway. Lin Ranyue sighed, wondering if her sons had been found in a dumpster. Big brother was never interested in the restaurant business, and second brother is just a fool being used by Suman, Suwan said, comforting her mother. The reason Suman is so desperate is because her mother, Du Weiwei, is about to be released from prison. Lin Ranyue was shocked. She had thought Du Weiwei was sentenced to 30 years. Suwan didn't know the details, but she knew the mother-daughter duo was after her father's restaurant. Lin Ranyue knew her husband had never gotten over Du Weiwei, which was why he spoiled Suman. She suspected they might get back together. Suwan told her mother that if she wasn't ready to let go of her father, she would take care of the two schemers herself. Lin Ranyue smiled. Sweetie, there's no point in holding on to a man who doesn't love you. I stayed in this marriage to see where his heart truly lies. If it's not with me, I'll walk away. Suwan supported her mother's decision completely. As long as she was happy, Suwan would even help her find a new husband. Seeing how late it was, Lin Ranyue told Suwan to get some rest. Okay, I will, she replied. But before bed, she had one more important thing to do. Just moments earlier, Dabai had reported to Gujue that his wife was home and busy in the kitchen. Eager to see her, Gujue ordered the AI to switch to the house cameras, warning it not to let her notice. On the screen, Suwan was completely focused, preparing one delicious dish after another. An hour later, she finished recording her cooking segment and prepping the food for the next day. To cover her tracks, she had Xiaobai delete all the logs and then carefully package the dishes in the fridge. Finally, she headed to the bathroom for a relaxing shower. In the steamy room, she untied her ponytail, letting her long hair cascade down her back. She slowly began to unbutton her shirt. But just as her bare back was about to be revealed, she paused, pulling her shirt closed and looking over her shoulder with a confused expression. Why do I feel like someone is watching me, she thought. At the exact same moment, Gujue yelled, Dabai, cut the feed! The AI couldn't help but tease him. You don't have to be so guilty, master. It's not like Madam would know. Do you want to be shut down again? Gujue warned. Dabai panicked and quickly made an excuse to flee from its tsundere master. Alone with his thoughts, Gujue couldn't get the image of Suwan unbuttoning her shirt out of his head, and the fluffy ears on his head twitched. The next day, the first district branch of the Su family restaurant opened to great fanfare. Thanks to excellent publicity, the place was packed. Suwan was personally greeting guests, while her grandfather chatted with some important figures. Old Su, your granddaughter is as capable as she is beautiful, one of them remarked. Her grandfather just smiled humbly. She still has a lot to learn. And she just got married, you know. At the mention of her marriage, their curiosity was piqued. Her grandfather cleverly deflected their questions. Her husband prefers to keep a low profile. They nodded, though it was unclear if they believed him. Of course, of course. Just then, her uncle Su Teng stormed over to her, his face red with anger. Why did you change the main course I spent so much time preparing? Su Wan remained calm. I tried to discuss the menu with you, uncle, but you always ignored me. I assumed that meant I had full authority. Su Teng was left speechless and could only storm away in frustration. The surrounding guests who had witnessed the exchange began to whisper amongst themselves, their words full of disdain for Su Wan. Su Teng, meanwhile, was eagerly waiting for her to fail publicly. In a corner, a certain green tea stepsister watched the scene unfold with a smirk. Is that all you've got, Su Wan? She thought. Just wait. You'll be handing over management of this restaurant to me soon enough. In a classic-style private room on the second floor, the Empress and her sister, Luo Jina, watched everything happening in the main hall through a holographic screen. Seeing Suwan being questioned and doubted, they both felt it was unfair, and the Empress was ready to step in and defend her new aunt-in-law at a moment's notice. Seeing that most of the guests had arrived, Suwan gave a subtle signal to her AI, Xiaobai, to begin serving the main course. Instantly, a massive projection screen materialized in the middle of the hall, and a pair of exquisitely beautiful hands appeared before the crowd. At the same time, a young man's clear, magnetic voice rang out. Hello, everyone. I am the chef god. The announcement sent a shockwave through the entire restaurant. Gasps of disbelief rippled through the crowd. Oh my god! The Su family restaurant actually managed to invite the chef god? He's the most skilled chef in the entire federation. At the main table, an old man in blue robes was equally stunned. Brother Su, your granddaughter is truly incredible. How did she get him to show up? Grandpa Su was beaming with pride, though he tried to sound humble. This kid is full of surprises. I had no idea she had invited the chef god. In the corner, Suman, who had been eagerly awaiting Suwan's failure, felt the color drain from her face. How is this possible? How could she possibly know the chef god? To celebrate the restaurant's opening, the chef god had chosen several rare dishes from the legendary Manchu Han Imperial Feast, and these dishes would serve as the main course for the day. Grandpa Su was stunned. He never imagined this young chef knew how to prepare the long-lost feast. The man in blue immediately asked Grandpa Su for an introduction. And though the old man managed to agree, his heart sank. He'd never even met the chef god himself. The chef god's surprise appearance, coupled with his extraordinary cuisine, pushed the opening ceremony to an unprecedented high. He announced that the dishes from today's live stream would be auctioned off to the guests, with the highest bidders getting to enjoy them. The crowd went wild, and the bidding was so frantic that the auction interface nearly crashed, pushing the already electric atmosphere to a whole new level. The Chef God's streaming platform had also requested to simulcast the event, which Suwon immediately approved, knowing it would benefit the restaurant. In an instant, reservations for the Su family restaurant skyrocketed, booking them solid for the next 3 months, and news of the opening shot to the top of the trending lists. Suwon mentally high-fived herself. The influence of one chef god was worth more than her 2 brothers combined. Su-man, on the other hand, was practically vibrating with rage, her face a mask of fury. Damn it! What kind of trick did Suwon use to hook the chef god? Just then, Sujin found her and told her to come to the main table to meet some industry veterans. Su-man immediately wiped the resentment from her face and put on her best obedient daughter act. At the main table, Suwon was sitting beside her grandfather explaining the dishes, earning praise from the other guests. Just as the mood was getting comfortable, Sujin arrived with Su-man in tow. Everyone, let me introduce you. This is our family's younger daughter, Suman. Suman gave a sweet, polite bow. It's an honor to meet you all. I'm Manman. Grandpa Su's brow furrowed in annoyance, but for the sake of the family's reputation, he held his tongue. As for Suwon, she didn't give Suman a second thought, merely glancing at her with indifference. Suman asked with faux innocence why Suwon's husband hadn't arrived yet. Suwon knew this little schemer couldn't go a day without stirring up trouble. Just as everyone was waiting for Suwon's response, Grandpa Su finally lost his temper and, without another word, banished his scheming granddaughter to the kitchen to work. Though furious, she didn't dare defy him and slunk away. Sujin started to defend his precious daughter, but one icy glare from his father shut him down. Just then, the manager rushed in, flustered, to report that a combat-class starship had arrived outside. Fearing it would cause a panic, Suwon quickly stood up and said she'd go take a look. She hurried out to the platform to see a familiar starship hovering overhead, causing the crowd below to look on in fear. Before she could process what was happening, a jacket with a familiar, cool scent was draped over her shoulders. Guja had appeared behind her without a sound. She jumped, startled. "Commander Gu, what are you doing here?" A faint smile touched his stern face. "I heard your family's restaurant was opening. I just finished up with work, so I thought I'd come join the fun." Dubai, his AI, muttered to itself. Men and their pride. He obviously rushed here just to support Madam. The poor adjutant, Li Rui, was probably holding down the fort all for the sake of the commander's love life. Suwon was genuinely touched by his arrival, but worried about his identity being exposed. She hesitated before finally asking, "Are you okay with appearing as my husband? It's just, with all these people watching, if you're not comfortable with it, I can—" Before she could finish, Guja gave a simple, firm yes. She was a little stunned by how quickly he agreed. "In that case, let's go." He gently took her hand and placed it on his arm. "Much better. Let's go." As they walked into the restaurant side by side, he, dashing and imposing, and she, graceful and radiant, the crowd fell silent for a moment, before erupting into a frenzy of picture-taking. This was huge news. The first commander's mysterious wife was the daughter of the Su family. The video from their wedding was dug up, and the flood of information crashed the entire interstellar web. As they were walking, Suman suddenly appeared behind them and called out, "Suwon?" Suwon turned, one eyebrow raised. "Shouldn't you be helping in the kitchen?" Ignoring her, Suman looked directly at Gu Jue, her eyes gleaming with malice. "Commander Gu, it's so touching that you came all this way for my sister. But did you know? She and that chef god have a very suspicious relationship. You're so good to her, but she's two-timing you. I feel so bad for you." Flash of fury appeared in Suwon's eyes, wishing she could tear this little snake to pieces. In the next second, she lunged forward and wrapped her hand tightly around Suman's throat. "Suman, do you really think I'm still that helpless little girl from the nutrient pod?" Suman started to choke, panic seizing her as she feared this might be the end. Tears streamed down her face. "I warned you, Suman, but you didn't listen," Suwon said, releasing her and letting her drop to the floor like a piece of trash. Suman gasped for air, terror still lingering in her eyes as she looked up at Suwon. Suwon, who just gave her a cold smile. "From now on, you can go keep your mother company. Don't ever step foot in a Su family restaurant again." Unwilling to accept defeat, Suman turned to Gu Jue and cried, "She's a monster, Commander Gu. Can you really call someone this terrifying your wife?" She thought this would turn him against Suwon, but Gu Jue just gave her a dismissive glance. "And you are?" Suman froze, the words dying in her throat. Suwon took Gujue's arm and they turned to leave. Watching them walk away, Suman ground her teeth in frustration. As they walked, Suwon started to explain about the chef god, but Gujue cut her off. I know. There's nothing going on between you two. A warmth spread through her chest. Next time, I'll have the chef god make something special for you. The corner of Gujue's mouth turned up slightly. Okay. Suwon then brought him over to her grandfather. The old man was floored to see the famously busy commander in his restaurant. Welcome, welcome, Commander Gu. What brings you here today? Wanwan told me the restaurant was opening, so I came to see. The other old men at the table, seeing the commander for the first time, all gathered around to greet him. Just then, Dabai reported, Sir, you have an urgent, unscheduled meeting. You're needed immediately. Gujie looked at his terminal and frowned. Suwon understood. After saying goodbye to her elders, offered to walk him out. But he gently stopped her. You should rest. He patted her on the head and told her to come home early. She nodded obediently. Grandpa Su watched them from the side, a happy grin on his face, thoroughly enjoying their sweet interaction. The grand opening was a resounding success, and Grandpa Su couldn't stop smiling. After the guests had left, he announced in front of everyone that Suwon would not only be the manager of the new branch, but also the next heir to the Su family business. Sujin immediately jumped to his feet. Why are you deciding the heir so soon? I'm still young, he protested. His father gave him a withering look. Have any of the openings you've hosted ever been as successful as this one? Sujin was left speechless. As the new heir, Suwon made one request. Suman tried to slander me in front of the commander and all our guests, with no regard for the Su family's interests. Therefore, I've decided to ban her from all Su family restaurants from now on. Sujin exploded. Wanwan, how can you do that to Manman? Lin Ranyue, fed up with his favoritism, shot back. Are you out of your mind? Suman brought this on herself. She deserves it. The two started arguing, and the shouting match quickly escalated. Grandpa Su, his face red with anger, finally roared, Enough! Both of you, shut up! Grandpa Su felt that banning Suman from the family restaurants was a bit much, and Sujin quickly agreed. I think so too. But his father's reasoning was hilariously unexpected. The food at other restaurants isn't as good as ours. With that settled, a happy Grandpa Su headed home. Suwon boarded a starship back to the commander's mansion. She was so exhausted from the day's events that she fell asleep within minutes. She dreamed of her wedding day again. The train of her dress seemed to stretch on forever, and Audrey stood before her with 9 fluffy tails swaying behind him. With his handsome face, he looked like a beautiful fox spirit from a legend. Are you a fox? She asked in the dream. He slowly shook his head and leaned in to kiss her. Instantly, all 9 tails wrapped around her. She woke with a start, feeling incredibly warm. Still a bit groggy, she looked down and saw she was clutching a big, fluffy tail. She turned her head and saw a man sitting by the bed reading a book, a scene that was more than a little awkward. Guessing that Gu Hui had carried her from the starship, she politely thanked him. Just then, her stomach rumbled, giving her the perfect excuse to escape the awkwardness. I'm going to make something to eat. Do you want some? Gu Jue gave a reserved nod. Yes. A little while later, she had several dishes ready. Thanks for coming to support me today. I know it's late, so I hope these dishes are okay. He glanced at the food on the table. They're fine. After a moment of silence, she looked up at the man eating seriously across from her and tentatively asked, Jue, if I wanted you to help me look up what crime someone committed, would that be against the rules? Are you asking about Du Weiwei? She was surprised that you've been investigating me. His handsome face remained tense as he nodded. Being investigated wasn't a great feeling, but putting herself in his shoes, if she had been the one randomly tricked into marriage, she would have investigated the other person's entire family tree. So she let it go and said, Yes, her. She's my dad's first love and Suman's biological mother. I'm worried she's going to ruin my parents' marriage. Guju listened calmly. Du Weiwei is connected to a group of space pirates the Federation has been hunting for years. She didn't dare ask for more details, but she suspected the pirate might be Suman's real father. Gujue shook his head. We ran a DNA match. He's not. Su Wan was confused. Du Weiwei's crimes were serious. She shouldn't have been released early. So what was Suman making such a fuss about? I can help you look into it, Gujue said quickly, then added, As thanks for the meal you made me. She rolled her eyes slightly. No, cooking for you is what I should do. At the mention of cooking, his expression grew complicated. You probably won't have time to cook for me for a while. She looked at him, puzzled. Why not? Because you're about to start a month-long closed campus military training program. She was silent for a long time. Seeing her reaction, he thought she was worried about her health. I can talk to your instructor and make sure they don't push you too hard. She quickly waved her hands. No, I'm not worried about that. She was worried her parents would be divorced by the time she got back. And she thought for a moment, then looked up at him. While I'm gone, what will you do when your manic phase hits? Guju's brain short-circuited. He thought his manic phase was a taboo subject, but here she was, bringing it up so directly. The moment the words left her mouth, an awkward silence fell over the room. She tried to play it cool. Well, it'll be easy for you to find me anyway. With that, she turned and fled the room. Gujue was left completely speechless. Even Dabai couldn't help but judge him. Master, aren't you going to go after her? Back in her room, Suwon's face was still burning. What's there to be shy about, she thought. It's not like it's the first time. His manic phase is once a month, 12 times a year. That's as regular as my period. Speaking of which, she realized her period was late, probably due to all the recent stress. With no time to dwell on it, she quickly washed up and went to bed. The next day, Suwon became the center of attention the moment she set foot on the Imperial University campus. All thanks to yesterday's public announcement. The crowd had gathered outside her dorm, gossiping excitedly about her and the commander. Her roommates, Sheng-an and Luojina, were trapped in the middle of it. Finally, Luojina had enough. What are you all doing here? It's so loud! If you have questions, go ask her yourself. That shut everyone up. Seeing her chant, Suwon walked towards them. The crowd saw her and scattered. Luojina raised an eyebrow. Wow, are these people part rabbit? Sheng-an's eyes lit up. Wanwan, you're finally here. Suwon smiled at her dramatic expression. What? Did you miss me? Get out of here. It's not me, it's the entire school. After those pictures of you and the commander came out yesterday, you could hear the sound of hearts breaking all over campus. Suwon could just imagine it. Just then, she saw a man in the corner sneakily taking pictures of her. Luojina spotted him too and was on him in a flash. Delete those pictures now, she demanded. He immediately complied. Yes, of course. As the commotion died down, Suwon happened to see a vial of special serum in Sheng-an's bag. Sheng-an? She asked, surprised. Are you a beastman? Sheng-an nodded, explaining she was half beastman. Suwon's curiosity was piqued, and she asked what her beast form was. Sheng-an told her it was a type of bird, and she could grow wings. Suwon was instantly envious. You have wings? Can you fly? Luojina leaned in, her eyes shining. Turn into your beast form. Let us see. Faced with her two roommates' eager expressions, Sheng-an blushed. Maybe some other time. The conversation made Suwon think of Ajue, and she wondered what his full beast form looked like. She remembered his fluffy ears and that tail that was so satisfying to pet. She guessed he was a fox, or a wolf, or maybe some kind of hybrid. He even had some dog-like qualities. No, the great Commander Gu couldn't possibly be a dog. The curiosity was killing her. She wondered if he would tell her if she asked him directly. With her head full of questions, Suwon boarded the starship with the other students, heading for the training base. The journey was 34 hours long, so the ship was equipped with dorms, training facilities, and even a mech combat simulation room. Luojina suggested they go watch a match, and Suwon and Sheng-an readily agreed. They were enjoying the show. When they were approached by a die-hard Commander Gu fan, a tough-looking girl who stood nearly 6 feet tall. The 6-foot-tall girl was Pangela, Luojina's longtime rival, and a huge fan of Commander Gu. Hearing that Suwon was the commander's wife, she had come to challenge her to a mech battle. Before Suwon could even respond to this unexpected challenge, Luojina was already boasting. My Wanwan is definitely better than you. Pangela wasn't about to back down. Luojina happily accepted on Suwon's behalf. Fine, let's go. Who's scared? Suwon felt a headache coming on, since the medical program didn't have mech piloting classes. And since waking up from her recovery, she had been too busy with physical therapy, learning to cook, catching up on her studies, and fending off Suman to even touch a simulation pod. Pangela looked down at her. You don't even know how to pilot a simulation mech? How are you worthy of Commander Gu? But her condescending tone lit a fire in Suwon, and she accepted the challenge. The two instructors exchanged worried glances. As a half-beastman, Pangela was incredibly strong, and they were afraid the commander's wife was about to get hurt. Suddenly, the instructors received a notification and were called to the ship's entrance. Suwon used the time to quickly study the beginner's tutorial and realized the simulation was a lot like the old interstellar combat games from ancient Earth. Her confidence grew. The other students watching, however, were all worried for her, especially Sheng-an, who was wringing her hands nervously. Meanwhile, Suman and her roommate were in a corner, snickering about Suwon's poor health. Luojina heard them and shot them a death glare. Who's whispering over there? Got something to say? Say it to my face! At the same time, Instructor Mu Lei and his team were staring in shock as the stern and imposing Commander Gu boarded their training ship. Mu Lei nervously asked why he was there, but Gu Jue just coolly claimed he was catching a ride. Not daring to question him further, Mu Lei quietly led him to the VIP lounge. Just then, Dabai reported that it couldn't reach Suwon, but her location was pinged in the mech combat room. Gu Jue was both confused and concerned. He glanced back at Mu Lei and asked what was going on. Mu Lei was evasive. The students are just interacting. One icy glare from Gu Jue was all it took for Mu Lei to spill the beans. The students are holding an impromptu mech competition. Gu Jue understood immediately. Take me there. Now. The mech battle began, with Suwon in the blue mech and Pangela in the red. Pangela came out swinging, unleashing a relentless storm of attacks. Her mech's weapons fired at a dizzying pace, but Suwon moved like a phantom, dodging every blast. Pangela's barrage was useless. All she managed to hit were the afterimages Suwon left behind. After 49 rounds, Pangela's ferocious assault had accomplished nothing. Suwon, stop running, you coward! Is hiding all you can do? She roared in frustration. Luogina watched nervously, blaming herself for getting Suwon into this mess. But Chang'an just shook her head. Wanwan's control of the rhythm is perfect. This fight is far from over. Pangela's attacks grew sloppy and desperate. Finally, in a last-ditch effort, she focused all her mech's firepower on the blue mech's last known position. The roar of the blast shook the entire arena as a wave of white light consumed the area. The audience thought the match was over. Pangela was already raising her arms in victory. But as the smoke cleared, the blue mech was gone. Pangela froze, her triumphant expression wiped from her face. In the next second, Suwon's mech materialized behind her. Luogina screamed with excitement, "Go, Wanwan! Blow her away!" The blue-haired boy next to her stared in disbelief at Suwon's incredible maneuver. A massive explosion ripped through the arena, and the screen flashed with a single giant word, "Over." In the control room, the instructors who had been watching were in awe of Suwon's flawless piloting. That, one of them breathed, was a beautiful bait and switch. Hearing the praise for his wife, Guju's normally stern face softened into a warm, proud smile. Suwon stepped gracefully out of the simulation pod, a slight smile on her lips. "Guess I got lucky. I win." Luogina threw her arms around her. "Wanwan, you were amazing." Nearby, the blue-haired boy watched her, a strange new light in his eyes. In that moment, he found himself completely captivated by this beautiful, formidable girl. Just as Suwon was celebrating her victory, Suman's jealousy boiled over. She started loudly complaining that Suwon had just been hiding the whole time and couldn't have possibly won. The green-haired boy next to her clicked his tongue and decided to educate her. Suwon was predicting Pangela's movements. Dodging was just a strategy. That was pure skill. Suman's face flushed with anger, but she couldn't argue. Luogina rushed over, beaming at the green-haired boy. "You've got a good eye." "I'm Luogina. What's your name?" "Alex, first year at the military academy." He then introduced the blue-haired boy beside him. "And this is Lin Yu from the literature department." Chang'an's eyes lit up. "You're the genius from the literature department?" While the new friends were chatting, someone else in the room was fuming. Pangela stormed over to Suwon. "I demand a rematch." Suwon didn't even bother looking up, just gave her a cold glance and flatly refused. Pangela was stunned into silence. Suwon just waved and walked away. Leaving Pangela so angry, a vein was throbbing in her forehead. Suman seized the opportunity to add fuel to the fire. Suwon thinks she can do whatever she wants just because she's married to the commander. She walked over and patted Pangela's shoulder. "I'm sure you'll beat her next time." But Pangela just shot her a dirty look. "Who are you? This has nothing to do with you." She then stalked off, leaving Suman standing there, looking like she'd swallowed a bug. "What is wrong with these rich girls?" she grumbled to herself. On the way back, Luogina couldn't stop praising Suwon. Chang'an chimed in that someone had sent her a message asking for Suwon's contact info. Just then, a deep magnetic voice came from behind them. "What message?" They turned to see Gu Jue standing there. The smiles on Luogina and Chang'an's faces froze. "Hello, Commander Gu." He was wearing a dark blue military uniform that made him look even colder and more imposing than usual, like a walking iceberg. Suwon instinctively snapped to attention and saluted. "Commander, what are you doing here?" His eyes were still icy as he asked robotically, "Where are you headed?" She told him they were going to get food and casually asked, "Have you eaten, Commander?" He said he hadn't, then added, "I'll join you." His entourage of instructors immediately sensed the tense atmosphere and made a quick exit, dragging Luogina and Chang'an with them. "We'll just be going now." Luogina and Chang'an looked back at Suwon with pity, as if to say, "You're on your own." Suwon cursed them silently. Distracted, she walked right into Gujue's broad, solid back. The impact made her nose throb and her eyes started to water. He reacted instantly, wrapping an arm around her to steady her. Seeing her teary eyes, he swallowed hard. Why didn't you answer my messages? Can I offer a weak excuse? I was in a mech battle simulation, so I didn't have a chance to reply. Just then, Xiaobai popped up with a notification. Master, you have 3 new friend requests. Suwan glanced at the screen. Don't know them. Reject. A satisfied smile touched Guju's lips. He looked at her with concern. Did anyone give you trouble? She quickly waved it off, explaining that it was just one of his fans who wanted to spar with her. She then excitedly recounted the battle. This girl, Pangela, she was really good, but I figured out her attack patterns pretty quickly. He just watched her quietly, his eyes full of affection. It's too bad you didn't see it, she finished. My final move was so cool. Watching her animated expression, he thought she looked like a proud little kitten with its tail held high, and he felt his face flush. Her cuteness was overwhelming. He couldn't stop himself from imagining petting and cuddling his adorable Suwan kitty. Suddenly, he leaned in close to her ear and whispered, I saw your final attack. You did very well. On the surface, he was praising her, but inside, he was drowning in jealousy. His wife was so exceptional, it was inevitable that other guys would notice her. That's why he'd been in such a foul mood. The fearless Commander Gu was afraid of someone stealing his wife away. Suwan didn't pick up on his inner turmoil. She was just surprised he had found the time to watch her match. But then she wondered, if he knew I was in a match, why was he mad I didn't reply? She figured he must have been sulking because of what Chang'an had said earlier. She had to suppress a smile. Who knew the most powerful commander in the galaxy could be so childish? Her proximity was making him flustered, and he quickly changed the subject. You have a real talent for this. Have you considered a career in mech piloting? She told him that while she enjoyed it, she wasn't cut out for it. Mech piloting required a physical strength only beastmen possessed. With my constitution, she sighed, I can only play around in simulations. He considered her health and then made a promise. Next time, I'll let you pilot my personal mech, Azure Dragon. Her eyes lit up. Really? That would be amazing. A little while later, they were in his private lounge. She couldn't help but ask, Jue, is there a reason you came all this way? He looked at her, his expression serious. There's news about Du Weiwei. She provided the location of a pirate hideout, so in exchange for her cooperation, she was granted an early release. She's currently living in the 3rd district. Suwan was surprised but not shocked. Suman was a handful, so it made sense her mother was just as troublesome. After a moment of thought, she decided to message her mother. Xiaobai quickly connected a holographic call and an image of Lin Ranyu appeared, her face tear-stained and gaunt. What's wrong? Suwan asked, alarmed. It turned out Lin Ranyu had found out about Du Weiwei's release, and that her husband had been hiding her in their villa in the 3rd district. They had a massive fight. After hearing the story, Suwan asked her mother what she planned to do. Lin Ranyu's voice was firm. I want a divorce. But he refuses to sign and he has the nerve to call me petty. Suwan couldn't help but curse. Is he insane? Does he really think he can have both his old flame and his wife? What's the point of staying with a man like that? Lin Ranyu said, her mind made up. So we can be buried together? I've already filed for a forced divorce with the system and submitted the evidence. Suwan thought for a moment. Forced divorces are rarely approved quickly. It can sometimes take 4 or 5 years. But Lin Ranyu was adamant. Suwan knew her mother's heart was truly broken this time. Worry, Mom, she said, fully supportive. I'll find you an uncle 100 times more handsome than Dad. Lin Ranyu played along. Oh, really? In that case, I want a handsome, single man from your university or the military. Before Suwan could reply, Gujue, who had been resting with his eyes closed, spoke up. I can arrange that. On the other end of the call, Lin Ranyu was so embarrassed she could have dug a hole to the 3rd district and back. Suwan felt a wave of social anxiety. She shot Gujie a pleading look, and he immediately understood. You two talk. I'll be in the bedroom. Mom, I'm so sorry. I have to be at this training for another month, so I can't come home to be with you. Lin Ranyu smiled gently. It's okay, sweetie. That jerk Su Zhen isn't worth my tears. I'm actually planning to take a trip to clear my head. I'll probably be back around the time your training ends. As they were ending the call, Lin Ranyu cautiously asked if the commander had taken her joke about finding a handsome man seriously. Suwan had no idea and could only mumble, he probably didn't hear you clearly. After the call, Suwan let out a long sigh. It was getting late and she figured she should head back to her dorm. She thought Gujue was in the bedroom, but it was empty. Dabai helpfully chimed in. Madam, the master is currently taking a shower. Suwan's face flushed. Could you please tell him I've gone back to my dorm? Dabai panicked and started making things up. The master had something else to tell you. Why don't you wait for him? Suwon hesitated. How much longer will he be? The AI's electronic eyes twinkled mischievously. Let me see. The master has finished washing his hair and is now washing his chest, and then moving down to his... No one asked for a play-by-play. Suwon's face was beet red. I'll just wait here. She plopped down on a nearby sofa. Dabai's electronic eyes narrowed. What a shame. You're missing out on the master's fine physique. Suwon ignored it. She was so tired from her match with Pangila that her eyelids started to droop, and before she knew it, she had drifted off to sleep. Seeing this, Dabai thoughtfully covered her with a small blanket. In her dream, it felt like the Alaskan Malamute she had raised on ancient Earth was cuddling with her. She grabbed its big, fluffy tail and hugged it close. Where are you going? You're so fluffy and warm. Why won't you let me hug you? Just then, Gujue, clad in a white bathrobe, looked down at his wife cuddling his tail. A smile played on his lips as he leaned down and placed a gentle kiss on her cheek. Rest well, he whispered. Then, he carefully scooped the sleeping Suwon into his arms and carried her to the large, soft bed. He gave an order to his AI. Connect me to the main system, Baize. Baize appeared instantly and saluted. Commander, what are your orders? Gujue's expression was grim. Has Ms. Lin Ranyu filed for a forced divorce from Suzhen and provided evidence? After a quick check, Baize replied, Yes, Commander. The evidence of Suzhen's infidelity is conclusive. A sharp glint appeared in Guju's eyes. Approve her divorce petition immediately. Yes, sir, Baize said, thinking to himself. The Federation's first commander has gotten a lot more sentimental since he got married. Meanwhile, Suzhen, oblivious to the news, was busy fawning over his mistress. Weiwei, these are all your favorites. Try some. Du Weiwei smiled sweetly. Ah, Zhen, I'm so touched that you came to take care of me. Suzhen, who was in the middle of a romantic moment with his mistress, received the notification. His eyes bulged in disbelief. Seeing his panicked expression, Du Weiwei tried to get him to stay, but he just mumbled a few excuses and left the villa like his pants were on fire. Du Weiwei stamped her foot in frustration. Is playing hard to get not working on him anymore? A short while later, Suzhen stormed into the Su family villa, roaring, Lin Ranyu! What is the meaning of this? But the scene that greeted him made his jaw drop again. The massive villa was empty. He tried to call Lin Ranyue, only to find that he had been blocked. He was so angry he could have spit fire. As he was pacing, he stepped on something. He looked down and saw a shattered family photo on the floor. He bent down and picked it up. The broken picture felt like a perfect metaphor for his own broken marriage. In his heart, Suzhen didn't think he had done anything wrong. He never planned to marry Du Weiwei. He just wanted to take care of her and her daughter for the rest of his life. Unrepentant, he blamed Lin Ranyue for being so unreasonable and divorcing him just like that. A notification from his terminal snapped him out of his thoughts. He excitedly thought it was Lin Ranyue, but it was just his eldest son, Su Yun, who had seen the public divorce notice and was calling to ask what happened. I don't know, Suzhen said shamelessly. Your mother filed for a forced divorce. But forced divorce petitions take at least 4 or 5 years to be approved, Su Yun pointed out. A thought struck Suzhen. Wan. It was Wan, he fumed. It must have been her. She convinced the commander to approve it. Even Su Yun was surprised at how much influence his sister had with the commander. He just told his father to go find their mother and talk to her in person. So Suzhen rushed to his father's study. Dad, do you know where Ranyue went? Grandpa Su, who was in the middle of a game of chess, calmly replied, She went back to her family in the 2nd district. He looked at his disappointing son, and a fire ignited in his eyes. Suzhen, I don't care who you like, but I'm telling you this right now. As long as I'm alive, Du Weiwei will never set foot in this house. Suzhen started to argue, but his father just waved his hand dismissively. Get out. Don't interrupt my game. Finally, ushered out by a housekeeping bot, Suzhen had no choice but to leave. The next morning, Suwon woke up in a daze to find herself in a soft, spacious bed with a large, warm body next to her. She froze. Before she could finish the thought, Xiaobai chirped in her ear, Master, the starship will arrive at the training base in 5 hours. That snapped her awake. Oh no, I didn't go back to the dorm all night. My roommates must be worried. She glanced at the peacefully sleeping Gujue and figured she could sneak away without him noticing. But just as she swung one leg over the side of the bed, he opened his eyes and they stared at each other. Suwon felt so awkward she could have created 99 new planets just to hide in. She jumped up from his arms and gave him a stiff, polite smile. Good morning, Ajue. His gaze was chilly. Trying to run away again? Like on our wedding day? She guiltily looked away. No. He gave her a look that said, I don't believe you for a second. Then what are you doing? It's a misunderstanding! She quickly tried to pull her leg back, but he grabbed her by the waist. He pulled her tightly into his arms. He placed a gentle kiss on her forehead. Wanwan, it's still early. Let's sleep a little longer. And just like that, she was trapped in his arms, nearly suffocating from his forced love. Sometime later, she finally escaped from his forced love. When she got back to the dorm, all her roommates were already awake. Sheng-an saw her and smiled. Wanwan, you're back early. Suwan gave an awkward laugh. Not that early. We're about to arrive at the base. She was curious, though. Their reaction to her being gone all night was unusually calm. Luogina sleepily chimed in. Well, Commander Gu is here, so it's normal for you not to come back. Sheng-an nodded. Exactly. You're a legally married couple. We totally get it. Suwan was grateful, but pretended to be annoyed. You two traitors! You sold me out yesterday. Luogina and Sheng-an immediately clung to her legs, begging for forgiveness. Suddenly, her terminal beeped. With a call from her second brother, she stopped messing around and went to her room to answer. As soon as the call connected, he demanded on the other end, Do you know Mom and Dad got a divorce? She replied casually, I know. Her brother started blaming her for not trying to talk their mother out of it, naively believing that if their father just apologized, their mother would forgive him. What if Dad cheated on her? She shot back. Should she forgive that too? He insisted that was impossible. Even when she told him their father had been shacked up with Du Weiwei in the villa, her brother, completely brainwashed by Suman, insisted they were innocent. Suwan had had enough of her brother, who was all looks and no brains. She told him to go to the medical center and get his head checked, because with an IQ like his, he was an embarrassment to all the pop idols in the galaxy. Suwan, are you calling your brother stupid? He exploded. Just as he was about to yell at her, a slender, beautiful hand covered his mouth. A pretty woman appeared on screen and gently reminded him, celebrities need to watch their image. She then turned her gaze to Suwan. Hello, I'm your brother's manager, Cecilia. Suwan asked Cecilia to try and talk some sense into her brother and get him to stay out of their parents' divorce. She then quickly ended the call. Her sweet, simple-minded brother, however, ignored her explanation and continued to side with their trash father, blaming their mother for being too impulsive. Cecilia just sighed. Do you have a girl you like? The question made him blush. Well, why are you asking? Seeing his reaction, she rephrased. Or a boy, that's fine too. His face turned red with anger. Are you crazy? Let me put it another way. Let's say the girl you like is dating you, but she's also constantly going over to another man's house. How would you feel? He actually thought about it for a moment, then scratched his head. I can't imagine it. Cecilia sighed again. But then he added with a grin, but it does remind me of your annoying ex-husband who keeps bothering you. Is it the same thing? She was done trying to reason with an idiot. Just stay out of your parents' business, she ordered. Then told him to fix his tie for his upcoming appearance. He fumbled with it, but he was completely useless with his hands. He looked at her with pleading eyes, and she finally sighed and yanked his tie. Come here, I'll do it for you. The sudden closeness made his heart start to race. Meanwhile, Suwan had settled in and was ready for a good night's sleep. Don't sleep too deeply, Luogina warned. You never know when the instructors will blow the whistle for a surprise drill. But Suwan was so exhausted she was already asleep before Luogina finished her sentence. Sheng-an looked at her with concern. Has Wanwan been too tired lately? Probably, Luogina replied, then urged Sheng-an to get some rest too. At 1:55 a.m., a voice blared over the base's broadcast system. All new students, assemble in the main square in 5 minutes. Sheng-an woke up first and quickly roused Suwan and Luogina. The three of them stumbled out to the square, half asleep. Suwan grumbled to herself, what is wrong with these instructors? A 2 a.m. assembly in the freezing cold? This is insane. Soon, all the students had gathered. A stern-faced instructor announced that they would each be carrying a 100-pound pack for a 5-hour endurance run through the forest surrounding the base. Anyone who didn't make it back by 7 a.m. would forfeit their breakfast. With a single command, the run began. The students shouldered their heavy packs and set off on the grueling journey. An hour later, they were still on a steep, uphill path. Luogina was panting, cursing the instructors. Sheng-an, with her beastman stamina, was still doing fine. Luogina turned to check on Suwan and saw that her face was pale and she was struggling to breathe. Wanwan, are you okay? She asked, rushing to her side. She thought back to the 1 or 2 times with Ajue, then realized with a jolt that her period was late this month. Moreover, recently she had been feeling unusually sleepy. All the signs pointed to a single possibility. Perhaps she was already with child. Sheng-an came back to check on her, but Suwan knew that the military test scores affected their final grades. Go on ahead, she urged her. I'll be fine. Luogina agreed. They both knew that with their family connections, they didn't have to worry about graduating. But for Sheng'an, good grades were everything. As Sheng'an hesitated, a sickly sweet voice cut in. Suwan's right. Suman walked past them, a mocking smile on her face. You must be Sheng'an? I remember you have excellent physical scores. Don't let certain people drag you down. Sheng'an, who had been quiet until now, finally spoke up. You're wrong, Suman. A teammate is never a burden. Suman was clearly not expecting the seemingly timid girl to fight back and was left speechless. Sheng'an wasn't finished. If a teammate gets injured or can't keep up, are you just going to abandon them? Suman's face flushed with anger and embarrassment. She cursed Sheng'an for being a goody two-shoes and stormed ahead. Suwan was used to Suman's petty tricks, but Luojina was furious. Ugh, I'm not losing to her. The three girls cheered each other on and continued their run. Strangely, after the pep talk, Suwan felt a warmth spread from her lower abdomen, and a mysterious energy flowed through her limbs. She no longer needed Sheng'an's help with her pack, and her steps became lighter and more powerful. Luojina, who had been complaining the whole time, looked at Sheng'an hopefully, but Sheng'an just shook her head. You look fine to me. You could probably carry another 100 pounds. The three of them joked and laughed as they ran, and before they knew it, they had caught up to Suman, with the finish line just ahead. Just as the smug stepsister was confidently thinking she would pass, Suwan and her friends zipped past her like a whirlwind. A moment later, an instructor's voice boomed, Sheng'an, Suwan, Luojina, 148th through 150th place. Everyone who finishes after them will do 300 push-ups. Suman's jaw dropped. She turned on Suwan, furious. You did that on purpose. Suwan mimicked her sweet, innocent tone. I'm so sorry. I didn't realize you were so slow. We accidentally ran past you and made you get punished. With that, Suwan and Sheng'an hoisted up the starving Luojina and headed for breakfast, leaving Suman standing there, trembling with rage. Just you wait, Suwan, she seethed. The fact that Suwan had passed the military test was baffling to the instructors. The commander's wife was famously frail. Her friends were worried about her and urged her to go to the medical bay for a checkup. Suwan had her own suspicions and agreed it was a good idea. Just then, her terminal beeped. Meanwhile, Gujie was about to leave to investigate a suspicious celestial body. He wanted to see his wife before he left, but she turned him down. Seeing the instant stiffness in his master's expression, Dabai tried to console him. Madam must be exhausted from training and just needs to rest. But when it checked her location and saw she was in the medical bay, it let out a cry of alarm. Hearing this, the normally calm Gujie was calm no longer. He turned and rushed towards the medical bay without a second thought. In the med bay, Suwan stared at the word pregnant on her test results, a mix of emotions swirling inside her. Before she could process it, she heard Guju's anxious voice from behind her. Wan, are you hurt? She instinctively turned, blocking the screen with her body, and tried to sound calm. I'm fine, just getting a routine checkup. He saw the strange look on her face and tried to see the report, but she stopped him. This report might not be accurate. Let me take the test again. His eyes filled with pain and sympathy. No matter what it is, he said gently, I'll do everything I can to get you the best treatment. She looked up at him, her eyes full of shyness and uncertainty. Finally, she worked up the courage to ask, Ajue, do you like kids? He froze for a second. Then a look of dawning comprehension crossed his face. Wan, he asked tentatively, are you? She blushed and gave a tiny nod. I can't believe it either. It only took 2 times. A proud grin spread across his face. Well, I am the most superior beastman. But Suwan was still worried the test was wrong. Seeing her hesitation, he thought she didn't want the baby. No, that's not it, she said quickly. It's just so sudden. He gently stroked her head. Don't worry. I'll take care of everything. He then carefully escorted her back to his private lounge and called for the military's head doctor to see her. Hello, madam. I'm Ouyang Qing, the senior medical officer accompanying this mission. She then performed a more thorough examination. The results showed that both mother and baby were in excellent health, and based on the data, the baby was very likely to be a beastman. Suwan was both shocked and thrilled. Does this mean I can still participate in the training? Dr. Ouyang smiled. Of course. The baby's vitals are all excellent. It might even be able to help you if you run into any danger. A thought flashed through Suwan's mind. My baby is my secret weapon. Wan, after your training is over, let's have a wedding. She looked up, surprised. Ajui, weren't you happy with our first wedding? He shook his head, his eyes full of tenderness. I feel bad that I didn't announce my identity when we first got married. You don't have to worry about a thing this time. I'll arrange everything. With that, he placed a gentle kiss on her forehead. Her heart skipped a beat. She thought back to Huo Yicheng, who had always seemed polite and respectful but was ultimately all talk. He hadn't lifted a finger for their wedding and then didn't even show up. Now, here was Gujue, showing her through his actions how much he cared for and cherished her. The contrast was impossible to ignore. She nodded, agreeing to the new wedding. Just then, Dabai reminded him it was time to leave for the Zerg investigation. He stood up but still fussed over her. If you feel uncomfortable at all during training, you have to stop immediately. I've given you access to my private lounge, and I sent you Dr. Ouyang's contact information. Bai Hu has set up a special encrypted channel for you, so you can contact me anytime. Seeing him being so motherly, she couldn't help but smile. Ah, Jay, you've become such a nag. He just gave her a fond smile. Wait for me. I'll be back soon. He then called Guzilan to tell him about the second wedding. The emperor didn't seem surprised. But when Gujue added, Zilan, you're going to have a little cousin, he completely lost it. Holy crap. I thought you were going to die alone, uncle. Not only did you get married, but now you're going to be a dad. Guzilan was so excited he immediately started planning the most extravagant wedding the universe had ever seen. But before he could get too carried away, Gujue had work to do. His adjutant, Li Rue, rushed in. Commander, we found a large number of Zerg, along with a damaged starship. Guju's expression turned grim. Signal all ships. We're attacking together. Wipe them out. Meanwhile, Suwan called Lin Ranyue. Mom, I have some good news. I'm pregnant. Lin Ranyue was overjoyed and immediately wanted to move to the training base to take care of her. Don't worry, Mom, the baby is very healthy, Suwan reassured her. But Ajue wants to have another wedding ceremony, and I might need your help with that. Her mother happily agreed, then shared some good news of her own. Her divorce had been finalized, and it seemed the commander had pulled some strings. Suwan was surprised he hadn't mentioned it to her, but she figured she could ask him about it later. Just then, Xiaobai reminded her that training was about to start, and she had to end the call with her mother. Luogina heard about Suwan's pregnancy from her sister, the Empress, and immediately sought her out to confirm the news. When Suwan nodded, Sheng'an was so shocked she did a spit take with her water. What? Suwan's expression changed, and she quickly shushed them, asking them to keep it a secret. Her friends were worried the intense training would be too much for her, but Suwan just smiled and said the doctor had cleared her. Just then, a familiar voice called out, Wanwan, are you sick? She looked up and saw Suman clinging to Huo Yicheng's arm as they walked towards her. What's it to you? She snapped. Huo Yicheng immediately shook Suman off and approached Suwan with a look of fake concern. The sight of him made her stomach churn, and the closer he got, the worse she felt. The next second, she doubled over and threw up all over his shoes. Sheng'an reacted instantly, rushing to support her. Suwan herself was stunned for a moment before she realized what was happening, the legendary morning sickness. She seriously suspected her little secret weapon was doing this on purpose to get back at him for his dad. When she composed herself, she saw that both her teammates and their opponents were staring at her. She gave an embarrassed laugh. It's nothing. I just ate something bad. Suman snorted. You obviously did that on purpose. Suwan just sighed. You're right. Every time I see you two, I remember how he ditched me at the altar. It's pretty disgusting. Suman was left speechless and looked to Huo Yicheng for help, but he remained silent. That afternoon, the two teams faced off in a relay race consisting of swimming, high jump, long jump, and climbing. As luck would have it, they were up against Suman and Huo Yicheng. Suwan and Sheng'an were teamed up with two other guys. The one with green hair, a beast man named Alex, beamed at Suwan and gave her a wink. Commander Gu is my idol. Don't worry, Suwan, I've got your back. The other boy, Lin Yu, had black hair and a quiet, scholarly look. Suwan was happy with their team. With a good mix of brains and brawn, she felt like they had this in the bag. Alex volunteered for the high jump. I can easily clear 4 meters. First place will be a piece of cake. Suwan was impressed. Good thing this base has gravity, or this kid would be in orbit. Alex grinned. Pretty cool, right? Yeah, you're the best, they all agreed. In the end, Sheng'an chose climbing. Lin Yu took the long jump, and Suwan was left with swimming. At the same time, Suman was staring at Suwan with a malicious glint in her eye. Unsurprisingly, she also chose swimming, clearly intending to beat Suwan. Before the race even started, she began her taunts. My mother is out of prison now. Just you wait until after this training is over. Suwan was unfazed and just mimicked her sweet, innocent tone, but loud enough for everyone to hear. Man, you're saying your mother is getting out of prison soon? Oh, congratulations. Suman's face looked like she had just swallowed a whole swarm of flies. Suwan! You did that on purpose. Suwan just laughed cheerfully and nodded. While Suman was distracted, Suwan dove into the water. Suman's eyes went wide, and she immediately tried to report Suwan for a false start. The instructor just gave her a tired look. The race has already begun. Furious, Su-man dove in after her, a dark look in her eyes. You asked for this, Su-won. As they neared the end of the pool, Su-won suddenly felt an electric current spread through the water, making her limbs tingle and go numb. She glanced back and saw a strange light flashing from a necklace around Su-man's neck. Her heart sank. She couldn't believe Su-man would resort to such dirty tricks just to win. She hesitated, wondering if she should report it to the instructor. Just then, she heard a protest from the next lane, and the stone-faced instructor's cold reply. As long as no illegal equipment is used and no one is seriously injured, the race will not be stopped. Su-won understood that the instructors wouldn't intervene for a minor infraction like this. She was worried, not for herself, but for the baby. With Su-man closing in, she decided to just push through to the end. Just then, she felt a warmth in her lower abdomen, and her strength returned. A smile touched her lips. My baby really is my secret weapon. Su-man, on the other hand, felt her triumphant smile freeze on her face. To her horror, her own limbs started to go numb uncontrollably, and she began to sink. By then, Su-won had already climbed out of the pool. Sheng-an was the first to rush to her side. Wan-wan, are you okay? She shook her head. I'm fine, just got a little shock. Lin Yu thoughtfully handed her a towel, his heart skipping a beat. At the same time, the crowd noticed that Su-man had passed out in the water. An instructor quickly pulled her out. Her idiot teammate immediately started pointing fingers, accusing Su-won of cheating. Su-won just laughed coldly. Instructor, I suggest you take a look at that strange necklace Su-man is wearing. Upon inspection, the instructor confirmed it was a small electrical discharge device. As a result, Su-man's team was disqualified. The other 3 members, including Huo Yichang, all glared at her with resentment. When Admiral Adolphus heard about the incident, he was frantic, nearly pulling his hair out. He was only able to relax after a full checkup showed Su-won was, for the moment, perfectly fine. He then ordered the instructors to never, under any circumstances, place Su-man and the commander's wife in the same group again. The instructor respectfully replied, Su-man won't have another chance, sir. Her team was disqualified. Su-won's team, on the other hand, did very well today and is now ranked in the top 100. Adolphus waved him away, saying he would report the matter to the commander in full detail. Meanwhile, Gu Hui was covered in the blood of the Zerg after a fierce battle. Dabai quietly reported, Sir, you have a call from Madam. Put her through, he said, a rare, gentle smile appearing on his grim face. The hologram connected, and Su-won's excited face appeared. Ah, Jue, I have something super important to tell you. I think our baby is electric. Seeing Gu Hui covered in what looked like watermelon juice, Su-won worried he was injured. But he just smiled. It's just Zerg blood. What were you saying about the baby? She excitedly told him the story. During the race today, Su-man tried to electrocute me, but she ended up getting zapped herself. I think it was the baby protecting me. Su-won couldn't think of any beastman species that was naturally electric. And it brought back the one question that had been bugging her for a while. Ah, Jui, what is your full beast form? Just imagining a mini Ah Jue in the future, with a fluffy little tail and fluffy little ears, made her heart melt. My full beast form, he said suddenly, is an ice frost winged wolf. She snapped back to attention, her eyes wide. An ice frost winged wolf? Does that mean you have big wings? Can I see? He could hear the delight in her voice, but he had to disappoint her. She would have to wait another month to see it. She blinked, a little let down. Just then, the signal for training sounded and she had to quickly end the call. After the call ended, Gu Jue just sat on the sofa in a daze for a full 3 minutes. Dabai cautiously reminded him, Sir, Admiral Adolphus has sent the incident report and the full surveillance video of Madam being electrocuted. He opened the video, and just as Su-won had said, the little green tea was up to her old tricks. His eyes turned ice cold. Dabai, connect me to the Federation Security and Supervision Department. In a luxurious villa in the 3rd District, Du Weiwei was fuming over a message from Su Zhen. Su-man was a lost cause, so her only hope now was to cling to him. But just then, the villa's main gate opened, and several interstellar police officers in black combat gear stormed in. Are you Du Weiwei? You need to come with us for questioning. She trembled with fear. But I was already exonerated. We've received a tip that you were involved in another space pirate case, the lead officer said calmly. Please cooperate with our investigation. Before she could protest, 2 officers had her in restraints and were escorting her out. In the living room of the Lin family home in the 2nd District, Lin Ranyu's father, uncle, and cousin sat stone-faced across from Su Zhen. Ranyue was spoiled by this family, her father said, his voice dangerously low. She has never been wronged like this before. I never wanted a divorce, Su Zhen said shamelessly. Her father scoffed. We've heard all about Du Weiwei. Her uncle added with a sneer. She's so lucky to have someone raise her daughter for her. It seems you've been taking good care of both of them. The only one I want to take care of is Ranyu, Sujun insisted. Her father was done talking. If it weren't for his respect for Grandpa Su, the men of the Lin family would have already beaten him to a pulp. In the end, Sujun had no choice but to leave in defeat. Lin Ranyu heard the commotion and hurried out. Dad, was someone just here? I thought I heard voices. No, you must have misheard, the men all said in unison. Her father quickly changed the subject. Hasn't Wanwan's training ended yet? I haven't seen my precious granddaughter in so long. Lin Ranyu smiled. I think she has about half a month left. Only halfway through the training, and Luogina was already at her breaking point. Every day was a grueling cycle of physical training and competitions. Group stage. The once pampered young lady had been transformed into a rough-and-tumble soldier. She launched into a rapid-fire rant, complaining about everything. Just think of it as a good workout, Suwon said comfortingly. Sheng An, used to Luogina's daily complaints, looked at Suwon with concern. Are you sure you can handle this while you're pregnant? Suwon smiled. No problem. I actually feel like I have more energy lately. Luogina's curiosity was piqued. Do you think it's a boy or a girl? I don't care, as long as they're healthy, Suwon said, taking a bite of a small cake. She then added, You know, Gina, this baby will be in the same generation as you. Luogina looked annoyed but couldn't argue. She leaned down to Suwon's stomach and said seriously, Listen up, little niece or nephew, your auntie's got your back. Suwon burst out laughing. Even the normally serious Sheng'an couldn't help but smile. Luogina suddenly held out her hand. But I'm going to have to collect a protection fee in advance. It was her way of saying she was craving Suwon's cooking. Sheng'an seconded the motion. Suwon readily agreed and decided to use Gu Jue's private lounge to cook for them. After getting his permission, she led her friends there. Luogina suggested they invite Alex and Lin Yu too, and Suwon agreed. While they were waiting for the elevator, they ran into Director Mule from the military academy. The group immediately straightened up and saluted. Where are you all headed? He asked, his expression serious. It's our afternoon off and they wanted to try my cooking, Suwon explained. Commander Gu's kitchen is fully stocked, so we were going to use that. You can cook? He asked, surprised. My family owns restaurants, so I know a few things, she said, then politely added, Would you like to join us, Director Mu? To everyone's surprise, he actually agreed. The silence in the elevator was deafening. Luogina awkwardly kicked the ground and subtly nudged Alex to make conversation. I don't really know him, he whispered back. Mule was about to light a cigarette but paused when his eyes met Suwon's. He put it away. My apologies, I forgot about your condition. It's fine, she said with a polite smile. Thank you for your consideration, Director. He tucked the cigarette back into his pocket, then changed the subject. Suwon, you're an exceptional student. Have you ever considered changing your major? Director Mule wanted to recruit Suwon for the command track at the military academy. But Suwon wasn't a beastman, and she worried her spiritual energy wasn't strong enough for the program's demanding requirements. So she recommended Sheng An instead. She's a beastman, and she's brilliant. If it weren't for the regional enrollment restrictions, she would be the perfect candidate for the military academy. Mule looked at Sheng An and nodded in approval, saying she was already on the watch list for outstanding students. But he still wanted Suwon. Physical conditioning isn't an issue, and spiritual energy can be trained. Suwon knew her soul had once traveled to ancient Earth, which made her spiritual energy a bit unstable, but that was impossible to explain. She just said she needed to discuss it with the commander first. At the mention of the commander, Mule dropped the subject. A little while later, Suwon had skillfully prepared a plate of phoenix tail shrimp dumplings. Their exquisite appearance drew gasps of admiration from the others, who all begged her to teach them. Suwon happily agreed and started the lesson. Okay, everyone grab a dumpling wrapper. She then turned to Mule, who was sipping tea on the side, and invited him to join. He was a little hesitant but agreed. Place a bit of filling and a shrimp in the center, she instructed. Everyone thought it looked easy. But when it came to the next step, Suwon's hands moved in a blur, pinching and folding the wrapper with practiced ease. In the blink of an eye, a perfect dumpling appeared in her hand. Surprisingly, the first person to get it right was Director Mule. Alex's jaw dropped. He leaned in close to the director and teased, You must be a natural at this, Director. Do you often help your wife with housework? She must be very happy. Mule looked down slightly. I'm not married. But yes, I do know how to do housework. His expression then turned serious. Alex, a wife is a partner to be cherished, not a maid. Hearing this, Suwon's matchmaking senses started tingling. Good character, handsome, and well-off, Mule was the perfect candidate for her mom's new husband. Alex, undeterred, pressed on. You're so amazing, Director. How are you still single at 39? Are your standards too high? Suwon was also curious. For such an amazing guy to still be single, there must be a story there. Noticing her speculative gaze, Muley quickly changed the subject. Let's just focus on the dumplings. The room filled with laughter as everyone went back to their task. Alex and Luogina, the bickering pair, were practically having a food fight. Chang'an, on the other hand, was all thumbs. A shrimp slipped from her grasp and went flying, landing perfectly on top of Lin Yu's head. The whole room erupted in laughter. Chang'an's face turned beet red as she apologized profusely. Muley watched the group of young people and smiled. It was nice to be young. But just then his eyes widened as if he'd seen a ghost. The commander himself was standing there, his expression unreadable as he stared at Suwon. Suwon froze, the shrimp still in her hand. She looked up and saw Guju's stony face. "Ah, Jue, you're back. You didn't say you were coming." His eyes held a hint of displeasure. "Continue," he said, his voice flat. "Don't mind me." With that, he strode into the bedroom. The atmosphere in the room instantly dropped to freezing. Sensing trouble, Muley quickly made an excuse and left, leaving the 4 students looking like helpless lambs. Suwon got the hint. "I'll just fry these up, and you can take them back to your dorms." Luogina gave her a thumbs up. "You're the best, Wan. Even though the commander's glare could kill, it couldn't stop Alex from gushing. Seeing the commander up close, he's so handsome. Chang'an, on the other hand, was so intimidated by his presence she could barely breathe. "Let's get out of here, quick," Alex whispered to Lin Yu. "The commander is not happy." Lin Yu looked worried. "Will he take it out on Suwon?" "The commander is great to Wan," Luogina chimed in. "He probably won't get mad at her. But us? We're fair game." Meanwhile, Guje was changing his clothes, his face still grim. Dabai tried to console him. "Don't worry, master. Madam would never be interested in an old man like Muley. If anything, she'd be more interested in one of those 2 younger guys." "Nice one, Dabai." That was like pouring gasoline on a fire. Gujue shot his AI a death glare. "Muley is my former classmate." Dabai immediately backtracked. "You're much younger than all of them, master." A little while later, Guju still couldn't help but ask, "Do I seem very intimidating?" "Well," Dabai said honestly, "you did scare Madam's friends just now." Hearing this, Gujue felt a pang of disappointment. It took him another half an hour to work up the courage to leave the bedroom. Suwon immediately sensed his bad mood and assumed it was because she had brought her friends to his lounge. "I'm sorry," she said. "I won't bring anyone here again." His expression softened slightly. "It's fine. You can use the lounge whenever you want. I just thought it would only be you and your roommates. Alex and Lin Yu are our teammates, and we just ran into Director Mu on the way here," she explained. At the mention of the director, she started chatting excitedly about how nice he was and even asked, "Do you think a lot of people at the academy have a crush on him?" Hearing his wife praise another man, Guju's face grew even darker. "Are you very interested in him?" he asked coldly. Guju's jealousy had reached a boiling point, but Suwon was completely oblivious, thinking he was just sick from overworking. She urged him to take a hot shower and get some rest. While he was in the bathroom, she started a video call with her roommates. "Wan, did the commander get mad at you?" Chang'an asked immediately. "The commander would only punish her in a very special way," Luogina said with a wicked grin. "But Wan's pregnant," Chang'an exclaimed. "I looked it up. If the baby's a beastman, it should be fine." Suwon's face turned bright red and she quickly ended the call. Her thoughts turned back to Director Muley. She sent a picture of him to her mother, hoping to play matchmaker. Lin Ranyu had just replied that he was very handsome. Suwon decided to press on, after all. He was 100 times better looking than her trash father. With that settled, she was overcome with sleepiness. But Gujue had been in the bathroom for a long time. Dabai offered to go check on him. When the bathroom door opened, it found Gu Wei slumped over the edge of the tub, muttering to himself, "She doesn't like me. She's never smiled at me like that." Dabai immediately understood. "Master, your manic phase is here early." "She doesn't remember my manic phase. She ignores me, and she cleaned that guy's hair with her own hands." Gujue continued, lost in his own world. Yi Chang likes her. The guys at her school like her. Her roommates like her. "Master, get a grip," Dabai interrupted. "Her roommates are girls." In his manic state, Gujue was childish and paranoid. The thought that Suwon might like someone else was unbearable, and he shot up from the tub. By then, Suwon was already fast asleep, clutching her blanket. A fluffy tail snaked its way into her arms. Guju looked down at her sleeping form and leaned in to kiss her forehead. She looked so soft and peaceful, and his protective instincts kicked in. He wrapped his arms around her, possessive and firm. "Sister, you're not allowed to like anyone else." The movement stirred Suwon from her sleep. She opened her eyes to see his face inches from hers. "Ah, Jue, what are you doing?" she mumbled, still half asleep. I'm so tired, don't mess around. But he just held her tighter, his eyes misty. I like it when sister calls me. Perhaps it was the intensity of his emotions that had triggered his manic phase early. The next day, Suwon was late for her 9 a.m. training. She silently cursed. This is all Guju's fault. Thinking about what Gujue had done the night before, Suwon was furious. What made it worse was that he didn't remember a thing, just woke up complaining of a sore back. She was in a foul mood all morning, and the poor guy she was sparring with paid the price. She beat him so badly he started to cry. You look a bit like my ex-boyfriend, was all she said in response to his tears. I'm 100 times more handsome than Huo Yichang, he protested. You can kill me, but you can't insult me. Unfortunately for him, all she heard was, kill me, and she was more than happy to oblige. A moment later, his cries of agony echoed through the training hall. Luojina and Sheng'an watched in shock. Wanwan is terrifying today. What on earth did the commander do? At that moment, Gu Jue was in a meeting with Admiral Adolphus and Director Mu Lei. The head chef, a man with a large mustache, burst in with a steaming plate of dumplings, announcing that Suwon had sent them especially for Director Mu. Guju's face instantly went black. Mu Lei was so embarrassed he could have dug a hole in the floor. The chef, oblivious to the tension, added, I can heat them up for you later if they get cold. Mu Lei didn't dare say a word, terrified of angering the commander. Adolphus quickly tried to smooth things over, asking if Suwon had made a lot of dumplings. When he learned there was enough for everyone, Mu Lei breathed a sigh of relief and commented on how kind and beautiful Suwon was. That only made Gujue's expression darken further, and he abruptly ended the meeting. Adolphus asked Mu Lei if he had done something to offend Suwon, but Mu Lei was clueless. In the end, he decided to just eat the dumplings. I'm sorry, Admiral, the chef said, but there's only one pair of chopsticks. Adolphus's jaw dropped. Can't you just feed me? That evening, Gujue returned to his lounge and ordered a table full of nutritious food for Suwon, but his messages to her went unanswered. Master, Dabai said, I think probably maybe Madam isn't coming back. Meanwhile, Sheng'an cautiously asked Suwon, Are you still going to the commander's lounge to rest? No, Suwon replied coldly. She was furious that Gujue hadn't immediately explained what had happened the night before. She went to bed early, but just tossed and turned, her mind racing. What does he think I am? Does his manic phase give him a free pass to do whatever he wants? For the next 2 days, she made excuses not to see him. Luojina and Xing-An suspected they had gotten into a fight. After 3 nights of sleeping alone, Gujue finally figured it out. Dabai, he asked. She's not answering my messages. Is she angry? Dabai silently grumbled. Took you long enough to figure that out.